Monday, another case of the Scaries to start your work week. Welcome to the newest edition of the Sunday Scaries, where we have all your gore, lore, and more, covering all the latest horror happenings, slicing open all the latest horror news, and dissecting it bit by bit, finding all those juicy innards. Pour yourself a nightcap and turn your fright lights while we take you on a tour of terror. And look at us, we're already deep in the chat here.
Hey, I figured that'd be a good way to do it. You know, put up some of the ones people just celebrating. I love seeing those when we first start up. It's always exciting.
It's always so welcoming.
It
little
is.
Fireworks.
It is. I see Stephanie's in here watching. She is always on top of my recommendations. There's like a select group of people. Penelope's one of them. People are always just watching the movies I talk about in those lists, especially the disturbing ones. So, yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed Megalomaniac. That's a interesting watch. Definitely a tough one. Luke, you'll have to get around to that at some point.
I'll put it on my list. Now, how disturbing is it? 1 through 10.
I mean, like, it's, I said, I think because I was fresh off of my first watch, I admittedly may have been a little bit hot on the heels to say I think it might live up to, you know, Martyr standards eventually.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it goes that hard,
Yeah.
but it's just the tone and the like style of story that it is. It's because, you know, Martyrs has that whole thing with just like, you know, holding people against their will and stuff like that. And this has that, but in a different way. It's more familial. And there's a lot of incest. So, you know, lots of fun.
No, always a good time. Does anyone get turned into a human spring roll by chance?
No, unfortunately,
okay.
No.
Well, see, that's the marker. That's the bar that we set when we talk Martyrs. But I'm intrigued, especially if it's got that level of terror. So that's all I really need.
Yeah, Martyrs is one that I definitely want to get Adrian on for an episode to react to disturbing shit with, because I think that shootout scene, or just the shotgun scene in general, like he'll lose his mind.
Oh yeah, it kind of reminds me of, what's it called, Strangers. It's like the couple's got like a B&B style stay at a house. People are coming up trying to murder them.
Depends on which one you're talking about.
It's got, what's his name from Always Sunny in Philadelphia in it.
Then you're talking about the good one. Yep, we're good.
That's a great one.
Yeah,
yep,
that was dope.
If
I was shocked.
if it's Strangers, a la Chapter 1, no good. What up, Erica? Welcome. Mama Mayhem, what's up? Penelope, what is going on? Shiny, how are you doing? Violet, how's it going? Happy Sunday, weirdos. Love it. And Violet says Martyrs had an existential thing going on that disturbed me a lot more than Megalomaniac. Good film, though. Yeah, I get that. Definitely. There's the ending of Martyrs puts you in a very odd place. It's almost like, oh, so like these people really fucked up now, didn't they? by putting themselves in that position of like getting the answers they wanted, which is why I think the ending is so good, because it's like, damn, you got the answers after all this shit, and it's awful. It's not what you wanted.
That is such a wild film. When you look at, like, you know, there are so many films that start in one place and end in another, but Martyrs is like the way we kick that film off, and like the ending scenes. I can't believe that was like, okay, this is the beginning, this is the end. Let's fill in the rest. You know, it's just that trajectory of a film. Watching that one, it sits with you, obviously, with a lot of the imagery and just what happens because of how they put themselves in the situation technically, because it starts off kind of like a revenge-esque story.
Yep.
And then we get into a completely different tale. But when you really look back and be like, wow, man, if they just didn't do that, everything may have turned out okay.
Yeah, it's definitely, as far as disturbing movies go, it's one that, even though it is messed up, and especially that, like, I'd say the last third of the movie, probably the third act, is like really tough to watch sometimes, just because you feel so bad. But like, I will say it's one of the few movies that, like, I just love all of the topics they tackle, because it starts off, like Luke said, just going one way. You think it's going to be just like, you know, revenge after a torture kind of thing, and then it turns into this whole other thing with like a secret society, and it's like, it's got so many layers to it. I love going back and watching it.
Yeah, it's a great rewatch. That is one of those films. Sometimes when you get into those disturbing films and they don't offer maybe enough narrative in terms of, other than just being disturbing for the sake of being disturbing, Martyrs is one that's, it's got that subtext to it that you can always pick out so much going back. I think that's why that one, even though it has a disturbing nature to it, it still remains really rewatchable because you can always pull out different things from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see here. What's up, Gremlin? How you doing? Happy belated birthday, by the way. I think we wish you happy birthday last week too, but
Happy belated.
got you on both sides. We just didn't hit the day, but happy birthday. And Stephanie says you should wear your Terrifier glasses. Unfortunately, they're upstairs in the possession of my son. So, yes,
That's how it always goes. Well, I got a pair last year, and my daughter just had a death grip on those. Not so much the Christmas ones, but the sunflower ones were just a hot ticket.
It's that big bright yellow, just attracts everybody. I love it. And then he said he saw Weapons, 7.8 out of 10. That rocks. That tracks. I like it. And then Gannon coming in here. What's going on with I wonder what the body count was until they found the one. Dude, it's I think like the thing, because I've gone over this movie a dozen times now, just between two different lists. I think the thing that really sets it apart and really scares me about that number is the fact that when you start the movie, it's like they're already like excavating, like the mom's excavating the backyard. You can see her like messing with like the sewage drains and pipes and shit back there. So it's like, I don't know whether that was a backup or they were just getting ready to expand, but I hate the notion of all of it. Like it's tough. It's definitely a very, very rough watch. But again, it's just like Inside is another one where it's a tough watch, but I'd still consider it a really good movie.
Yeah, Inside was another one that again, really tough subject matter. It's such a really gory film, but it offers so much in the narrative, and not necessarily something where you have to really deep dive. I think maybe Martyrs has more of an interesting subtext in terms of what you can really pull out of there, especially on rewatches. But Inside still remains such an interesting watch because of how well crafted that film is. I know Adrian was talking about The Strangers. It's really got that feel to it, that tension that they bring, but then amps up that gore to an absolutely different level. And then, when we get to the end of that one, I don't know. When we talk about ending scenes that are probably top 5 that are just going to disturb you, Inside for me is in that conversation.
Yeah. And I mean, the subject matter is one thing with it, obviously revolving around a pregnant woman. And I will admit that the baby stuff, the POV is a little dated, but yeah, I still think it holds up. It gets the point across, I should say. So
I think it's very dated, but that's kind of, there's a method to the madness because you get to see the trauma. And I think that maybe heightens the level of disturbing to it. So yeah, it is very dated, but it's kind of one of those things where you can kind of reason in your brain why it exists.
Yes, I would agree. It's got it just, and that's the thing. I think like with disturbing stuff, I've talked about it a bunch of times. It's like they need to justify their existence beyond just being gross and like upsetting. And like the new list I just did, like all of those movies, I would say justify their existence beyond just like being extreme. And I think that's a huge plus, and definitely gets more talking points from me and certainly our audience, because a lot of you definitely agreed. I saw a lot of people were saying that they did not they didn't really know like what the movies were that I was talking about. There were a couple of blind spots for people, which is definitely always encouraging. I like finding new movies that I can expose people to.
Yeah, I think that is such a gratifying experience. I think when you get those comments that are like, oh, I never watched this, and then they kind of come back and say, oh, this one was either really, really screwed up, or you can really take something out of that. Or even when you get those films that someone hasn't watched in years and have totally forgotten about, and then go back and are able to rediscover that, especially when you go in for, just a disturbing nature of something, but then you're able to pull out just either interesting tension, interesting subject matter, or just being able to rewatch it and say, oh yeah, I can pull this out. Didn't really catch these characters doing that. And I think those are really just gratifying experiences that you can kind of uncover those gems for people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Give me 1 second. I have to see what year was Inside again. Was that
2007
or 7? You might be right.
Somewhere around there. Yeah,
there was a
mid
new
2000s. Mid 2000s, yeah. The new one, that was directed, wasn't it by? I did that list on home invasions, and Kidnapped the director from Kidnapped had did the remake, which I heard is not great. I never watched that one. But I think the French one is from either 2006 or 2007.
2007. That's the one. Yes,
Definitely a good watch, disturbing watch, but very, very wild.
There you go. And then Mom Mayhem says, I've been watching Spanish language horror. They're good at creepy atmosphere. The House at the End of Time was good. Really interesting twist to it. Yes, I would agree. Spanish horror is definitely one of my favorites. They've honestly, like, Spanish language horror has been like climbing every year for me. It's like especially like since When Evil Lurks, it's one of those ones where it's like every time that I see anything from like Argentina or anything like that, it's like I know I'm getting into something special because they just have something. They're really starting to creep up for me. They might be I don't know if they've surpassed Australian horror. I think that they've got a pretty deep handle on things, but like they are on a streak, I should say.
Yeah, we talk about Australian horror, and I think maybe Australian horror is such a different animal, where looking at, South Korean and French, they all tackle the subject matter in disturbing natures, I think, slightly different. They tweak it just enough to say, this is how French, this is a French film and it feels like a French film. Spanish horror is like, I think there are just so many uncovered gems in Spanish horror, where it's like there are some that are so prevalent, but then when you get really deep in the woods for Spanish horror, they go, I think, even deeper into some more disturbing nature. They're not afraid to at all, where it's like, yeah, French does, but Spanish stuff really is like the reins are completely off to an extent, and you can get really dark really quick. And I haven't seen the one Mama Mayhem was talking about, but I'm really intrigued. Just because there's so much to uncover, and it seems like there's just a huge catalog that a lot of the times I was unaware of.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's certainly one that it will it's a genre, or like, I guess what would you call that, just like a sect of the world where it's like they're all starting to kind of really get the spotlight. And I kind of hinted towards that, not to go on this pre-ramble yet, because like in my Primitive War review, I mentioned at the end of that I'm like, I think one of the big positives about the pandemic is that, like, it gave movies, like, I know a lot of the big stuff is starting to like falter, like Fantastic Four and all this other stuff aren't performing as well, which kind of sucks for them. But like, we wouldn't, I don't think, get a movie like Primitive War, even in a theatrical limited release, like from Fathom. If it did, it would be like a one-day thing before that. And now it's like we get this and it's out there for everybody. And I think like that's a big thing with streaming now too, is more people are excited when they see like foreign language horror films pop up on their like new this week on Vudu or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, I'll check this out. Like, it sounds creepy, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think, after post-pandemic, I think theatrical releases have kind of diversified their portfolio, so to speak, where it's, we really have to start taking chances on things. There's some things out there that are, I guess, bread and butter properties that, you can know that the audience is going to go see, but it's getting a little more harder to gauge to a certain extent, because I think audiences are craving something that is really hard to put your finger on. When you talk about Primitive War, where we always go back to Terrifier 2 and what that did for cinema and smaller releases, and being able to be seen actually theatrically, and being able to, get a 3-day, initially like 3 days in the theater, and then it gets extended for another week, and then extended for another week, being able to take those chances. And then I think things like Netflix, in terms of being able to do foreign language horror. And I'm not a person that likes, where they dub things. For me, I have to watch. I'm totally I'm
Subs,
a subtitles guy. Yes, exactly. And I think at least for some people that don't like the subtitles, the dubbing has opened up a new avenue to experience more foreign language horror, just because some people just really do hate subtitles. I understand it. True. But especially being a little hesitant, but being able to, get a taste of something like Spanish horror, and then say, okay, this one was dubbed. Now this next one has subtitles, but I want to give it a watch just because that one that was dubbed was so good. I think being able to sit down and see these streaming things that are dubbed initially, but then maybe even find your way into the subtitled things, really open up different avenues to say, well, I'm going to try Spanish horror. I'm going to try French horror.
One of the best stories that I have about subtitled movies is from my buddy Josh that I used to work with at my previous job before we switched over to doing this. And I was talking to him about Godzilla -1. And his son's a huge Godzilla fan. He's a Godzilla fan, but he wasn't sure about going to see it because it was subtitled. And he's like, do you know if they're doing any dubs or anything of that? And I'm like, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm like, but really, Josh, like, you're going to forget about it in 5 minutes, dude. Like, just go see the movie. It's awesome. He took my word for it. And I just remember coming in on Monday and he was like, dude, I watched Godzilla -1. It was great. He's like, I loved it. He's like, one of the best Godzilla movies I've ever seen. He's like, I totally forgot about the subtitles. Like, how, like maybe 10, 15 minutes in, I'm like, yeah, dude, like you just get engaged. And I think like that's the big plus about it. And I can see why people are trepidatious to it because like, especially if you're just trying to casually watch something, it's hard to just throw something on with subtitles and just casually watch it because you need to stay focused. But again, I think it's that focus that boosts up the experience of most subtitled films. Like when I catch myself watching stuff with subtitles, I feel like I get so much more into it because, you know, your focus is right there.
Yeah, I don't think, you know, and it's hard to, I don't think maybe a subtitled film, there's no such thing as a casual watch, unfortunately, just because you have to be focused when you're watching something like that. But it's a really gratifying experience because you're giving it your sole attention. You know, that's a film you have to pause if you're going to go do something. You can't really look at your phone because then you're going to miss something in terms of, you know, just passing in a couple of scenes. But when you're actually locked in, you really do just kind of forget that there are subtitles there. You're so engaged in the actual story itself. And I'm a really, you know, when I did the list that had Kidnapped in it for Home Invasions, there is a horrible dub. I mean, like one of the worst dubs I had ever seen. I think maybe it's actually on Shudder. And I turned that off within 5 minutes. And because they didn't even have an option to just do the subtitles. So I had to go find it on a different streaming service. And man, did that just tarnish that experience completely. It was like one of the worst. I can't believe that is available, unfortunately, because if you watch that as your first viewing of a film like Kidnapped, it's going to take you completely out of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. We got a couple of quick donations here I wanted to touch on. Silhouetted donates $2. Thank you, sir, as always. Big supporter of the channel here. There's an uncomfortable baby scene in Sandman season 2.
Oh boy. I'm gonna dive into season 2 here. I'm working on a couple lists, but I'm definitely eager to hop into season 2 of Sandman. I'm hoping it's as good as season 1. But this uncomfortable baby scene, that's gonna be something. That's gonna be a wild one. I'm hoping it's gonna live up to my imagination
every week. Because like again, making these lists and disturbing movie things, sometimes it's like a few weeks or 2 weeks at least in advance that I'm watching some of these movies before I actually assemble the list. So uncomfortable baby scenes are a major trend, and I hate it. It's not fun.
And then, you know, just shout out real quick the Silhouette for you know, not making me, but actually, you know, giving me the motivation to sit down and watch Sandman, because season 1.
You've been talking it. You've been really hyping it up for me behind the scenes as well. So I will be getting around to watching it. Started today by watching Headless. That was something. Yeah, that's definitely not a good way to start your day, in my opinion.
Sets
I wouldn't
the tone
recommend
for a
that.
Sunday.
Yeah, you know, don't you lose your head watching that one. I didn't have a better one. I'm sorry. Violet, $5. Thank you so much, Violet. I would love to see you guys cover Sorgi Parvok of Descent into Darkness. Disturbing found footage from 2013 that recently blew my mind. I will check that out.
Yes,
let me
certainly.
Because yeah, there's definitely, depending on what it is, I'm really I'm messing with a list right now. I don't know how this one's going to do. Initially, I was avoiding trying to do lists like this, but like looking at, you know, and I don't want to look at analytics and everything for, it's like one of those things where I'm just like, I don't want to like just sit there and go off what analytics tell me. I want to go with what I think you guys would like and what I think is fun. But like this one, initially I saw the idea and I was like, no, I don't want to do something like that. And then I started doing a little bit of research just to see, and it got really interesting. So I'm going to do this one, but then I need to do a found footage one because I have not done a found footage one. Luke has, and I would love to find some found footage gems because I've incorporated them in a few lists, but I've never just done a solo found footage list.
You know, and we talk about it on the channel of not really being fans of found footage initially when we had jumped into Splattercast, and then we had seen like things like Skinamarink and the Outwaters and Frogman, a lot of these things that kind of just really opened up our brains to found footage and what the storytelling could be. And doing that list for found footage, man, I'll tell you, found footage has become one of those subgenres that I actually really look forward to watching. Now, when you get stinkers, you absolutely get stinkers in the found footage subgenre, but when the creatives know how to use it to their advantage, and it's so easy and gratifying to create that tension and to kind of create that realism and casualness to the story that I think is able to tap into a different type of horror that just more of a cinematic narrative can. And that's why I think found footage is really becoming one of my favorite subgenres, just because when it is done well, it is exceptionally well.
I can agree. Some of my favorite movies of the last few years have been found footage movies, and I literally never thought I would say that. Let's see.
Y'all
here. Go ahead.
Would hate on me, but I really enjoyed Apollo 17 or whatever it was.
Oh, Apollo 18?
Yeah. With all the little aliens in the crater at the end. That was cool.
Yeah, honestly, that is one I do want to revisit. Again,
I haven't seen that one.
I always shout this channel out, but it was Roanoke Games. He does he's a biologist, a scientist of some sort who just brings like a scientific eye to these monsters and these creations, trying to ground them in some sort of a reality and figure them out. I love his channel so much, and he covered that movie, and it puts like this whole new perspective on it where I'm like, I really want to watch this now. Like, I just really want to see it again because I saw it when it came out on Redbox, and I remember not liking it. But again, I thought it was better than found footage. I thought I was all high and mighty. I watch Tarantino movies. I'm so superior. Little 14-year-old film kid. Exactly. Elitist.
It's harder than y'all think, man.
Yeah. Silhouetted brings up, speaking of pandemic, did anyone see the War of the Worlds film with Ice Cube? I've not seen it yet.
I've heard about it. Not so great things.
I watched a dude today while I was making dinner. I was listening to a guy interview the producer and the director of the movie and explain the whole process of how they made it. And I'm just like, my curiosity is so piqued. I want to check it out.
That one, yeah, and I've heard, I think, what did it have, like a 0% maybe on Rotten Tomatoes, which, we don't need too much stake into that, but it's just one of those things that I think that the negative press got to it before anyone else. So I don't know if it's as bad as people are saying. It's one of the ones that's on my list just to watch it, to see how much of a dumpster fire that film could be. I didn't even know it was coming out until it just popped up, and I was like, oh wait, Ice Cube's in War of the Worlds. And I thought maybe it was not even the same story or anything like that, but I was like, oh no, I guess they're doing this. So it's on my watch list. I'll get around to it eventually, probably before the end of the year, just so we can potentially talk about, we always we don't get too negative on those lists, but we always mention a couple ones that were just really disappointing for the year.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if that's one that that everybody wants us to cover and watch, I would do it at this point, just to, satisfy you guys, give you guys something of our opinion on it if you want to hear it. Maybe we could do something fun with it.
Cinema.
That's kind of where I was leaning. That's where my head was going. I'm like, maybe we could do that. Maybe we'll get a couple people and sit down. I don't know. I want to start doing that. We're actually doing a new segment that for Patreon subscribers, brought this up like when we first started the Patreon. But we are going to be getting into a little bit of like a quiz show, kind of like trivia game between Luke and myself on some horror movie franchises. I'm a big fan of a guy named Mr. Sunday Movies and their podcast, The Weekly Planet. I think that he's super fun. I've been watching those guys for years, and I love those videos so much. So we are literally just going to steal the idea and do it with horror movies. And I'm going to put that up front in the video and be like, we are stealing this because it is just too fun. I don't even care if it does well. I've been writing trivia for our first topic, and I've been having so much fun doing it that I'm just like, I just got to do this for myself. So even if the video tanks, nobody likes it, nobody watches it, this one's for me. So I apologize up front.
Yeah, I'm excited for that concept as well. It was something that was completely foreign to me until Dylan sent me over a video, and I was like, I absolutely love this concept. I think it could be a lot of fun just to go back and, you know, test your knowledge of certain franchises and just see what you know in general. I think it could just be a fun discussion, like Dylan said. Even if it tanks, I think it'll be just a good time. And you know, we are already talking about what could be on the horizon for that. I mean, you got a couple of big franchise films coming out soon, and I mean, we're not going to just tie ourselves to that, but you know, we're deep in the horror space. There's so many franchises in the horror space, so that one we can have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I hope. And again, I think just it'll be fun for us regardless. I'm really the topic we're tackling, because the way I want to do this is like, I know they kind of do it. They do, one person assembles it and the other person does like is quizzed. I think we're gonna alternate, and I think we might bring in guests every once in a while to do it with us. But like this first one, I'm real excited because it's a franchise that I know Luke is familiar with, but it's not something like a Halloween. It's not something like a Friday the 13th where we can get really deep in the weeds. And assembling these questions, I go from like the goofiest, most on the nose, like, yeah, that's what it is kind of question, to some deep cuts that I think will surprise him. And then yeah, it's gonna be fun. I totally expect him to flub a few of these intentionally, because like I don't even think I would know them, but also there are going to be ones that it's like he's going to have it in the bag, and if he doesn't, then it's going to be a rough video, but we'll see.
Yeah. And you know, I'm banking on more of a rough video, because the franchise we're going to be tackling is something that I feel like, as I sit here right now, and I'd have to really look at it, but I think I can confidently say has more misses for me than hits. And so
Most
it's not
certainly
something I'm overly interested in. It's one that I know of, and one that I've seen, you know, some of the films in the franchise. There's one that I haven't seen at all, so that'll be fun. And then the other ones I think I've seen, you know, once or twice, and one film in there probably being, you know, a handful of times more so, but mostly just one viewing and not necessarily rewatchable. So I'm brushing up a tiny bit, but I'm not going to go too in depth with it, because it's meh. To me, it's not necessarily worth it, and I think that's half the fun anyway. So we'll have a good time when we get that video on the channel.
Absolutely. Erica says found footage is hit or miss for me. Absolutely. I think like really, if it's the smaller the company is or the smaller the team is that's doing it, has kind of been my sign that there could be some quality here. Once you get into like the big studio found footage stuff, it can be kind of rough. So then we got, let's see here. My next goal is to get some of the French films from Luke's list. Yes, he's got some good ones on there. I talked about The Divide. You talked about Frontiers, literally like one right after another. And like, I think that director's awesome. I love both those movies. The Frontiers and The Divide are both another one. Very disturbing movies, but I think actually like have a point and are very well executed.
Certainly.
I want to get some Spanish films from Luke's list, personally.
He hasn't done one on Spanish films yet, but I think we should do one soon.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah. There's a ton of Spanish films to cover, but going into the French and talking about Frontiers, my gosh, that I talk about it in that video where I don't necessarily verbally say, well, I'm watching something, and nothing evokes a verbal response from me, but that one scene in Frontiers where one of our characters just gets smashed in the head really caught me off guard. I was not expecting any of that. So that was a wild experience. And then it's you know, for Patreon subscribers, I did that sixth pick, which was Sheetan, and my gosh, what a wild experience of a mix of comedy and some disturbing stuff, and all hell breaks loose at the end of that film. Just, you know, I watched that one, I was like, oh, I seen it suggested, and I turned that one on, and oddly, my wife absolutely loves it. She's like,
really?
We watched that film, and she's talked about it probably over the past 2 weeks after watching it, and you know, she did take a gummy, and she had a really good time with that film. It is just such a fun watch. It's a disturbing watch, and it's got a lot of weird comedy, weird timing of comedy and stuff, but somehow they tie that film perfectly up, and it just creates a lot of fun.
I was just talking to Haley. I've been getting on her all like probably last 2 weeks or so. I've been on a kick for this. I've been really wanting to, not disturbing, I've been really wanting to watch Strange Darling again.
Yes.
And she has not seen it yet, and I really want her to watch it. So like we're just trying to find some time to sit down and get it watched, but we've been busy. Like we've been doing a lot of stuff on the weekends and been out and about. Like today I fished with my cousin and my friend and Atticus, my wife, and a bunch of our other people. Like we were all out there for 6 hours this morning. I got up at 5 a.m., went out to the lake to try to catch a bass, and this was my worst fishing experience since I started doing it again. And that's just simply, I shouldn't say experience, more performance. Didn't catch anything. Like I caught a small sunfish, and Atticus actually caught the biggest fish that I helped with. So it's like, you know, we just had poor performance today, but I was trying some new stuff. So, but yeah, it's been fun. It's been nice. We just got to get a weekend where we can sit down and just watch some movies, because that's on my list for her. I cannot wait for her to see that.
Yeah. It's very fun to start suggesting these films. I mean, Dylan, you know, where it's like, especially us doing these lists, and I think that's probably maybe one of the most gratifying experiences, because, you know, it's one thing to go to the theater and everyone talking about certain films that are, you know, kind of hot at the moment, but like discovering a lot of films that have been out there and we had not had a chance to check them out, or just hadn't had a chance to really just rediscover them because we didn't have an excuse to. And I think that's probably one of the most gratifying things about doing these lists and having an excuse to go back. Because I remember prior to doing the list, it was always like, oh, you know, we're covering all the new releases, which was fine, but then we never really had a chance to go back, other than when we did Splatterthon, and it was like, okay, now we get to rediscover some classics and get to talk about some of the things that we know. But being able to I've discovered so many things, or rediscovered so many things, and then been able to show my wife and sit down and be like, oh, this is kind of a fun watch, especially doing like the home invasion list and a lot of the foreign films. Like doing the Australian horror was so much fun, because we watched all those together, and it's like certainly disturbing stuff, but some of the storytelling in there is just so well paced, and it's really, really great compared to, you know, some of the English stuff that you see, you know, at the cinema.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can really find some hidden gems, and that's been my favorite part about exploring our horizons and going out to other countries, other lands, seeing what scares them. Like Baskin was one of my most recent lists. Turkish horror movie. Literally, I had never seen it. It had been recommended to me a couple of times, but like kind of just fell along the wayside. I never like heard about it again until I was researching stuff, and I was like, okay, this has been on my list for a minute. I think I'm going to check it out finally. And I was just blown away. I was like, hell yeah, this is great. I love this. Oh, yes. Love Mr. Sunday Movies. Yes, I completely agree. He's one of my favorite channels. Just to support and remind everyone to hit the like button and share. Thank you, Erica. That was way too kind. You're certainly way too much. And let's see. Is it the Critters franchise? No, Luke would crush if it was the Critters franchise. He would know more than me. So, like, certainly more.
We have to put that on the list, though. I would love to do a Critters.
Oh, we're going to... If you guys like this, if this takes off and does well, you know, we're going to do this a lot. Like, I have a lot of franchises. Like, we were just bullshitting back and forth on the phone the other day about all the different ones we could do. So, like, I'm certainly excited to do some of that. Oh, let's see. Did you see Devin? I found footage. Jenny Fairley, aka Joe. Oh wow, no, I remember when that came out. Luke had mentioned that.
Yeah, we never got around to seeing that one. I think we got an offer to check that one out, but I think we were just so busy at the time. So, that one we're aware of. We just never really got to sit down and check that one out. But we went through that comment. Was it any good, or? I don't know. I never heard anything about it. I remember it coming out, but
I don't remember.
Other than that, there was just kind of like a fleeting moment.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to circle back to that one at some point, just because, again, it was like such a odd, like, You know, I wouldn't have expected JWoww to come out with directing a
Yeah.
horror movie. Very odd, but you know what? I love it. I'll take it. We've seen people step out of the woodwork who've made some pretty interesting flicks. Fred Durst comes to mind with The Fanatic. So there you go. Frontiers was good. Beas More was a twisted porno, not quite snuff. Well, yeah, from
Yeah.
what I've heard, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
That's a wild film. I didn't know what I was in for initially watching Best Moi, but whoa, and you know, and to find out a lot of that was unsimulated was, I tell you, that's an experience, and it goes on for quite some time.
Yeah, I got one that I gotta try to find and watch for this next list that may deal with some of that as well. I'm not looking forward to it, so I'm definitely you know, it's like one of those things where it's like you have that moment of like, ooh, this could be interesting, this could be a good pick, this might surprise people, we'll see. And then just like in my very first like films worse than a Serbian film, you have to watch them, and that's the hardest part. Like sometimes that's the worst part.
Yep.
And you just feel bad afterwards. Let's see. Jacob 2 says, I saw Primitive War today. It was gnarly. Yes, Primitive War was a lot of fun. And can I just say, I don't know what the hell we're doing anymore on YouTube. I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't know what to do with this. I just texted this to Luke, but like we've been grinding pretty hard the last couple of weeks to try to just like really, you know, juice our algorithm, get everything, you know, moving up. We're a lot of the videos have been extremely well received, and we love you guys so much for that. And I would never, when I say this next part, I don't direct this towards any of you guys in the chat or any of you who are always watching our stuff, because like you guys are always huge supporters. Most everybody in here, I see your names popping up on all our videos, and it really truly means the world to myself. I know it means the world to Luke. We talk about it constantly. I don't know what greater YouTube wants from us, because we put a lot of work into these list videos to make them really like unique and fun and try to give something a little bit more to them. And it just seems like, you know, they do really well, and then they kind of like plateau, and then some of them will go above, but some of them will just stay. And then like I literally sat down, I wrote notes after seeing Primitive War. I took 2 days of basically just bullshitting and doing other life stuff. I sat down last night and I recorded, edited, and had that thing ready to go for today in probably an hour and a half. 11 minutes I talked. I just cut myself up, cut a couple things out. And that movie just blew past, as far as reception, all of our other content that we've had over the last month. I don't know. Like, I don't get it. I do not understand. Like, I did nothing special. I did nothing fun. It's just what it was. I was like, okay, cool.
It's the dinosaurs. That's what people are here for. We're gonna pivot into a dinosaur channel. Is how it's gonna work, because that's what YouTube wants us to do. It must be in the stars here.
You got to do the dinosaur content. I'll do dinosaur content. I had fun with that last video, and like I loved it. And I think that Luke, Primitive War is one you're probably going to want to circle up on. I know I've been saying that since I saw it, but I think you should. Again, you don't have to rush out to the theater, but like definitely one I'd recommend renting or maybe owning when it comes out, so you can get a little watch through of it, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I wish I would have had time to go see it when it was playing when you did, just because we talked about it on Sunday Scaries, and it looked good for what it was. I'm not expecting like magic or anything like that, but it looks like a really fun watch. So I'd love to try and make time. I know it's only limited right now to was it a 5-day? I can't remember if it was 5 days or 4 days. I don't know if it's going to be playing in theaters this week or not. Maybe it'll get that extension, because I'm intrigued to go see it, but I'm hoping it does pop up on video on demand sooner rather than later, just because I think, honestly, especially with word of mouth, because a lot of positive things are coming out for that film, that it's really going to have that second life on once it's VOD.
That's what I said in my video. I said, if in my review, I ended it by saying, like, if you have not, like, you know, if you can't see it, if you can't get to the theater, I understand, especially with Fandango limited releases, support it when it comes out on digital, because like I think it's a buttload of fun. I mean, it really feels like an 80s, like early 90s action movie. It's so cheesy at times. It's goofy. You'll shake your head at times, but you'll also like love some of the stuff. Like, again, there's a couple of dinosaur kills in there that like it justifies the R rating, and it certainly is one of those where it's like, damn, like that's hardcore. Like there's a particular death in that. Well, okay, there's two particular deaths in that movie. Jacob probably knows what I'm gonna say when I mention the Quetzalcoatlus. Pretty gross, you know. After watching a lot of disturbing shit, I still was like, ew, like that's so unnatural. I hate that, but it was awesome. I certainly enjoyed it. And yeah, is the movie dumb as shit sometimes? Of course it is. It's got its moments, but it's like it's still a lot of fun. And the ending is just fucking bombastic. Like, oh my god.
I'm excited for it. And wasn't this the one we talked about where there's a series of books? It's not just one, correct?
Yes. Somebody actually mentioned in a comment on there that there's a couple of comic books too. I was not aware of that. And yeah, it's like, damn, that's fucking funny. Like I really am gonna have to dive deeper into this world and see what lies on the horizon, because I thought there was like 2 books and then like 2 like world expansion books where they kind of go like through just the lore and everything. They give you a rundown of how everything works. So yeah,
I'm excited to see if there's going to be a continuation of this, just because, like we said, there seems to be some positive word of mouth coming out of this. And you look at something like Jurassic Park, it's such a huge property for dinosaurs and has been kind of the mainstay for so long that I'm not saying Primitive War is going to give Jurassic Park a run for their money, but at least there could be this kind of other franchise out there that maybe there's an appetite for, that R rating in terms of dinosaurs.
Yeah, and I said that at the end of my video about the scary Jurassic Park stuff. Like it's so clear as day. Like, why can't we have this or reboot the Carnosaur franchise or something? Just give us R-rated dinos. People will go to it, and clearly they are.
And you don't even need anything so grandiose, anything so big or anything. It's just like build that tension. Yeah, you're gonna have some CGI dinos. Just you don't even have to have a ton of them. Just a couple that are well crafted and in being able to build that tension and make use of the setting that you're in, and just have some of that great terror in there. So I think, it doesn't have to be anything grandiose. It doesn't have to be comparative to what Jurassic Park is. It can exist in that same world, and there's going to be an audience for it, because there has been that narrative for so long, that discourse of we would like something that leans a little heavier into horror, because there certainly are those elements that are intertwined in Jurassic Park. It just kind of went off and became just such a big property that sometimes it doesn't make sense to just be straight rated R, which I understand. But there are certainly a lot of properties out there that can produce the dinosaur aspect in a rated R nature.
Yeah, and I look at things like, I know this might be a hot button topic for some people, I don't know, but like how DC's doing their thing right now with, Superman being PG-13 for all audiences, pretty much just like, hey, go see it, take your kids, it's fun. And then having something like Peacemaker, which is just like hard R, raunchy, comedy, action stuff. It's like they can do both. It's like we can satisfy both audiences. I think like studios are just afraid to do so. And I really think like an R-rated Jurassic Park, I don't know, man. If Primitive War really does well based off of the word of mouth and just all the actually admittedly shocking amount of positive stuff I've seen from people, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe we get a little series on Netflix. Maybe we get a little something from Universal at some point saying, hey, here's R-rated Jurassic Park. Let's do it. Will it be any good? I don't know, but we can certainly try.
Yeah, just going with that darker tone. Now, who knows if they'll actually call it Jurassic Park, or it could just be an offshoot on, like you said, Netflix, or just get a series out there that is maybe geared toward more of an adult audience. And because it's again just adding a little extra tension, adding some more gore, some of that blood, and really doubling down on some of the horror. So it doesn't even have to be a huge variation from the storytelling that we're getting, just really amp up those horror elements. And, we could still have those big Jurassic Park properties hit the theater if they still want to tell those stories, and then just have another more adult geared guided program for, Jurassic Park, because it is such a big audience. It's such a big property out there that there's just so many stories to tell.
Literally bit flipper. I said a very similar thing. I was like, all those kids that grow up loving dinosaur movies, we grow up into Neanderthals. We want to see, big lizard eat little soldier, little man. We want to see that happen. Like, just give it to us. And yeah, it's awesome. Because I agree. I think like there's a balance that needs to be struck there. And I think it could be fun. And will they run that into the ground if it's like totally taken and then we have like 100 R-rated dinosaur properties? 100%. But I think like these guys being not the first, but certainly in a modern sense, one of the first in a while to do it, I think like hopefully they get enough support and they can just run with it. And yeah, hopefully we get a Primitive War too. I think personally, it sounding just from what I learned today about the series, I would like to see them almost like just take shades of the books, the comics and everything, and just kind of go off of that and just kind of like kind of develop their own stories and kind of really give us more time in the world. So I think that's where a lot of people want to be. And also, I mean, Adrian can back this up. I'm a huge I'm a slut for Vietnam War content. It's definitely as part of history. It's one of the eras, the 60s, everything. Like I study, watch videos, all kinds of stuff on that. Like I've written a couple of scripts that take place during the Vietnam War, and like it's one of my favorite eras. So just putting dinosaurs in that with that feeling, A1 baby. I loved it. Watching people get eaten by dinosaurs is so much fun. I don't know why. It just is. I don't make the rules. Absolutely. I get you. Let's see. My uncle on my dad's side showed me a crazy sight of real deaths and movie stars. Well, I thought it was super gross. I need to change the font. I can't read. I was intrigued, and I thank him for that. Fucked me up in the head. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was probably blood.com. Was that the one, Adrian? Was that the one where we got our education?
I'll never forget it, man. I was in computer class, saw this kid looking at it, show me how this guy tried to do a flip off of some pier and accidentally hit some concrete below. But the one that took the cake for me was when I was spending the night at Dylan's house once, and it was when that big cartel video was going around. It was like the world record quickest decapitation in history. So we pulled that up right before going to bed and watched it. And it was just this guy yelling at the camera, holding this lady's hair up like this. He had a kitchen knife, and he was just filleting it. It took him about maybe 20 seconds tops, and it was clean off, dude. After that, we looked at each other, and we were like, yeah, we're going to go to bed. It was horrible, man.
That was definitely a very cold night. Yeah, that was one of those ones where it's like, because like at the time, Adrian was practically my brother living with me, still is my brother, but like he was over there a lot, and like that was just one of those nights where it's like I don't even know it. I think we just put on a random movie, didn't say much. We were just like, that was a mistake, that we didn't need that. Like it's one of those things. I think everybody has that moment where they watch a car accident or they see something, especially nowadays with the internet. You see a video that's just too much
on
and
Instagram,
it's like especially when you're like 14, 15 years old, you're just like, I can handle this. It's no problem. And then you see it and you're like, oh, that's real. That doesn't look anything like the movies. I hate that. So yeah, it's tough. It's not something I would recommend. And yes, rotten.com is one I've heard of. I don't think we ever actually got on that one. At least I didn't. But like, yeah, blood.com. I know there was a ton of them. And then, of course, I think everybody in our generation, Luke, you may have trickled into this. One Man, One Jar, Two Kids in the Sandbox.
Classic.
What's the other one? Two Girls, One Cup.
Two Girls, One Cup. I'm certainly aware of.
Yeah, that one got memed to hell. So it's just
that was such a big thing of everyone talking about it. So I don't think you could escape seeing that. But I just remember when these disturbing videos popped up. It was always like, oh, you can get on this site and access real
Daily Motion was another one. A Daily Motion had a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Daily Motion has some crazy clips.
I remember seeing my first beheading, and I was like, my gosh,
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I remember we wandered down a dark road here.
When they introduced Facebook Live, I remember I used to get recommended just random live streams all the time, and it would usually just be viral ones, and occasionally it would just be like a crime scene or murder scene or
Yeah,
something like that.
always. Yeah, this is yes, yeah, pretty much exactly, Erica. Blue waffle.
Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah, that was another one. Man,
Classic.
God, we truly are a generation of people who grew up with the wild west of the internet, and we've got some scars for it. I think like everybody within our age ranges is just like, yeah, if you were around, you saw some shit that you probably shouldn't have seen. Our parents never saw stuff like that. Just think
you know,
about it. Like,
and that's why you put out a disturbing list and you get comments if that's not disturbing. It's like, well,
yes, and that's why I did the fucking Serbian film Solo. Like that's where this series started, because I was tired of people commenting on all of our videos whenever I'd say like, "Oh, Terrifier 2, he has some pretty rough stuff." Oh, you're a pussy, bro. You gotta watch, a Serbian film. That's the roughest movie I've ever seen. I'm like, dude. Yeah, that's like one messed up movie out of like a bazillion. And it's like, yeah, that just took me down a dark rabbit hole, but a fun rabbit hole, I should say. So
it's always a good time. See how gross we can get.
Oh.
Never disappoints.
Yeah, yep, certainly. But instead of talking about all that really gross, naughty stuff on the internet, why don't Luke take us away with the news, sir? What is first on the docket?
On the old agenda here. Well, Dylan, you were talking about primitive war, and these kind of we're mixing these creature features, I guess you'd say, with timely war things. And we have another one coming out, Dylan, that I know has interested you a great deal, called Beast of War, which is a shark film taking place. Is this what is this, World War II?
World War II. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So it's a group of Australian soldiers that get stranded at sea, and they're dealing with this big ass shark. And I didn't know this. I didn't know the director was Kaya Roach Turner. When we
I thought you did. I
had no idea.
Mention that, huh?
You did not mention it when I was doing research for this, and I was already intrigued by them doing this practical shark. But then when I realized it was Kaya Roach Turner who did Sting, which for me is such a great spider flick, because it's got that perfect kind of the use of the practical spider, but it's also got this fun tone to it, but also a little off-putting in certain instances as well. So I'm really excited about this one, knowing that they're leaning into the practical aspect of it, some puppetry as well, and then Kaya Roach Turner is someone who produced Sting, and that is a film I absolutely adore. So I really want to see what he does with this one, tackling a shark film.
I really thought that was going to be my favorite spider movie, probably of the decade, because we don't get very many. Unfortunately, it came out during one of the scariest movies I've seen in recent memory, which was Infested.
Yes.
Again, I have a few lists of movies and scenarios that actually scare me. That is one that's going to pop up again soon on a actually scare me list, because I don't know what it was. Again, I've mentioned this story a bunch, but I watched that and The Coffee Table basically back to back. I watched one night and one the other night. Both of them I had to pause and finish the next morning, because I was just like, this is too much for very different reasons. I don't know what the hell it was about that movie, but like just those little skittering spiders. And I'm not really afraid of spiders. I think one of my favorite comments we've ever gotten on a video actually was on that video, because it was like, Dylan, I think you're just afraid of spiders. And I'm just like, probably, dude, because these fucking spiders were scary, man. But I'll watch 8-Legged Freaks and Arachnophobia all day long, no problem. But yeah, the not those ones. I didn't care for that.
Yep.
But hey, Sting, one of the best opening credit sequences I've ever seen. Adorable. Yeah. Absolutely loved it.
Gracie just commented there. You had the comment up. I just wanted to point that out when we're talking about Infested. I think that hits the nail on the head. The baby spiders coming out of the shoe. Perfect build of tension. We're just waiting for something to happen. And then when we actually get it, absolutely gratifying in the most disturbing way possible. And I think that's where Infested excels in a disturbing spider flick, and it's one that I would gladly rewatch, but it is one that it has to be almost spaced out. I can't go back and watch that one every week. Whereas Sting, just a fun flick. Dylan, you mentioned that opening scene, so much fun, really sets the tone of what that film's going to be. Two great spider flicks for completely different reasons. But Sting, yeah, it's, I think, one of the most rewatchable films of that year, just because of its funness. Infested, so disturbing and so wonderfully great. The scene where they're in the hallway and we
Ugh.
just, and especially when our one character gets stuck there and all we do is hear his screams. Oh,
And I
horrifying
hate it because
stuff.
you love him too. Like he's one of those characters that's just kind of like the shithead friend of our main character, and like he becomes so likable throughout the movie. Like he puts his own life on the line and everything, and then boom, just fucking gets one of the worst things. The only thing I'll say about Infested is like Infested is great. It's actually scary up until and I guess spoilers, I'm sorry. It's not really that big of a spoiler. You see it in the trailer, so I knew it was coming. Up until the spiders get big. Once they get like
Yeah.
movie big, it's like this isn't scary anymore. It's just entertaining. And I feel like, obviously that's where they wanted to go with it. I think that's the natural progression. But like for me, dude, I was just like, man, if they just would have kept them like at the biggest they got, like softball size, like every little spider, like, Gracie brings this part up. I hate it, dude. I fucking hate it. I felt like there were spiders crawling underneath the blankets because I was watching that on my iPad, like holding it with headphones on at night, hearing the little skittering. The scene that always gets me is when the girlfriend is in the bathroom and you see all the spiders coming out of the vents and climbing all over the walls, and then she goes to get a towel and one jumps on her.
Yes.
I'm like, it's the worst thing ever. That was the worst feeling I've had in a movie, probably until I started doing these disturbing lists at the time. Like that was one of those experiences that just, ugh.
Yeah, and that's where it's like Infested excels in that aspect of feeling like you're bombarded with so many different spiders, and it's hard to overcome, even though they're small. There's just so many, and Erica mentioning arachnophobia here. It's like that's where I think arachnophobia excels as well, and that's why that one is so disturbing, because there are just so many spiders. It feels overwhelming. Sting's a little bit different, and then when we talk about arachnophobia, I used to the scene that got me was the couple eating the popcorn, and
Yep.
I
when
used
they
to
find them.
Yep. I used to always check if I was eating a bowl of chips or something. For some reason, I didn't even have to recently watch Arachnophobia, but I always had to check anything to see if there was a spider in it, just because that scene was like burned into my brain.
I know my wife is watching this because her and my son listen to every episode of the Sunday Scaries because they are the best and most supportive family ever. I love you both. And so I want you to mute this because I'm going to give her like 5 seconds because I'm going to talk about one of her big phobias that developed, because it's clearly one of the scariest things, and I completely understand how she feels. So, all right, I hope you muted it. But my wife loves no-bake cookies. Who doesn't, right? They're great. They're awesome. If you never had one, you should try one. She had gotten some at work when she was working at Dunkin' Donuts, and it was one of those Dunkin' Donuts. For those of you in the States, you know this. We have ones that are in gas stations. They kind of like partner with them. It was a thing for a while. And oh man, I don't know what it was exactly. I think she just like had it sitting there all day, just a container of no-bake cookies, like from the store. And she goes to eat them on her lunch break or something, or she was doing paperwork. And she looks down, covered in little tiny ants. She is convinced, and I think there's pretty much a good reason to think that she ate some of those little tiny worker ants on that cookie before she even noticed. And yeah, apparently they just had an ant infestation at the gas station, and it just so happened that where they were all hanging out was right by her desk. Climbed up, got in the cookie container after sitting there all day. Oh my God. Yeah, and now anytime she sees an ant, she cannot stand it. She has a phobia of them. I totally get it. That would have fucked me up too.
That happened to me once. We had another friend named Josh, and I spent the night in his like basement room. And I forgot he had an ant problem, but we got a 12-pack of them Taco Bell tacos. I woke up in the morning and I was hungry, man. So I grabbed one of them and I bit into it and I felt stuff moving around my mouth and I spit it all out. And it was exactly what I was worried it was. Ants.
I have a this never happened to me. This actually happened to my brother, and we have a bit of an age gap, so I don't even think I was born at this time. But just regarding ants, he was little, like I don't know, probably like 7-ish, I think. Anyway, he found a pair of swim goggles on the ground and decided to put those on. What he didn't know was that there was an ant on the strap, and it went right into his ear. So all he could, and no one believed him at the time because all he could hear is just crawling, what you would hear like crawling around in your ear. And finally, they had to take him up to the hospital, and they had to look in there. They had to like take little little pliers and reach in and grab this ant out because it kept going further in. It wasn't coming out. They tried to get it to come out. It was not. It was going farther into his ear, and all he could hear is this scratching against his eardrum. And for me, it's like I've heard that story growing up, and I've habitually checked. Even when I put on these headphones, I know there's nothing going to be in these headphones, but I check that stuff just to make sure because it has like lived in my brain since a kid that it's like it just grosses me out. It's like on a different level of disturbing.
The most recent like bad experience I had with ants was actually just a couple of weeks ago when I was cutting the grass. I was restringing my weed whacker, so I was just sitting there loading it up and everything, and I didn't realize I was standing on like a giant ant mound in my backyard. So I just felt all this like crawling on my legs, and I looked down, there's like 10 ants on my legs, just big old carpenter ants. I'm like, what the fuck? Get off me. I took the hose and just sprayed off my legs because I'm like, I don't know how to get all these guys off like all at once. But yeah, that was probably the most like nightmarish thing I've had with them. I don't know. Bugs, I've been pretty lucky from what I can recall. But yeah, something like oh god, I won't keep wanting to call it its French title, vermin. It's one of those things that just gets under my skin. It will always will. Certainly a movie that just scares the piss out of me, and that's why I kind of love it. I will watch that movie a bunch because, again, I just love being freaked out, and that movie gets under my skin really well without grossing me out, without making me feel sick. It just scares me. So.
It hits on what I think, a really memorable spider film in terms of terror should hit on. So, but going back to Sting, I think it's such a fun flick with dealing with spiders. But I'm excited for Beast of War just to see what they're going to bring. Hopefully, we get to see this a little bit early. I'm not going to, double down on that. But I think it's Well Go USA doing this one, and we have a pretty decent relationship with them and getting screeners. So. Hoping we get to check this one out, but this one would be a great one to check out in the theater. Unfortunately, we never got to see Sting in the theater. I don't think that one didn't play a lot.
I think it was the first weekend in Valley View.
Okay,
but like again, for reference, Valley View is like 45 minutes away for us. So
yeah,
it's you got to make a special trip out there. And honestly, that is also the place where we see most of our screenings for movies for press. So. Normally, if we're out there already, it's because we are going to see that. So it's tough.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm excited for this one. I think it comes out beginning of October, so really kicking off, that big horror month of October, getting into the Halloween season. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm excited for this one. I remember when Sting came out, it kind of flew under the radar for a while, and I don't even think it's gotten as much love as I thought it was going to. Once a bigger audience was going to see that one, but. Beast of War, I know Bloody Disgusting's had a couple articles tackling this one, so I'm hoping this one gets some fanfare because it looks really well done from the stills that we've seen and that trailer they released.
I don't want to make any promises, but little birdie says that we're already going to Fantastic Fest. We're doing it remotely as we always do, and I may have already been in contact with some folks to cover this one, so we might actually get to talk to Kyle Roach again. And chat with him. I'd love to catch up and see this because he hinted towards another creature feature, but he did not specifically mention sharks. And I know we brought up werewolves and sharks because I always bring up sharks and we always bring up werewolves whenever we're talking to people about the kind of movies we want to see them making. But yeah, no, I'm excited for this. Obviously, I could go all day about shark movies and just like how, we have this wide spectrum of great ones and terrible ones. Dangerous Animals this year, fantastic film. Certainly one of my favorites of the year. And if this is even a quarter as good as that, then I think we'll be eaten pretty well. But I think it looks fun. And again, like Luke brought up with, Sting being partially practical and partially, like CGI. He did a really good job of balancing that. There were only a handful of CGI shots that looked a little wonky. But I mean, again, I don't think you can get around that. So I think like for me, this is certainly one that I will be excited for. And I hope can bring some fear back to the shark movies, just like Dangerous Animals did.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Sting and Infested coming out in the same year and kind of being two decent wins for the spider subgenre. And then if we get Dangerous Animals and then Beast of War coming out all in 1 year and being both decent wins for the shark subgenre, what a wild time that would be. And, Kaya Turner Roach bringing that mix of CGI and puppetry and practical to Sting. And when you look at that, and sometimes things get overly CGI, and that was my concern with Sting. But when we use CGI, there was a method to that madness. There was, we couldn't practically do this, so we had to do it CGI. And knowing that he has a handle like that, and that's his approach, which I think, it can be easily justified. You kind of give a little extra leeway, I think, when it's like, oh yeah, well you couldn't really do that practically, so there's a reason for it. So going into Beast of War, I'm sure there's going to be some CGI, you can't escape it, but I think it's going to be one of those, well, we couldn't achieve this otherwise. So I think this one is not going to be met with any eye rolls from me, and I think a lot of shark films can be, where I'm like, man, I wish this was just more practical. But I'm liking what I'm hearing here. I'm excited for this one. I hope we get to see it a little bit early, because I think this one, I don't know. I don't want to get overly excited, but everything that I'm seeing for this one, I'm really liking.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a fun story, kind of playing off I don't necessarily think it's trying to do the whole, Jaws speech from, the whole USS Indianapolis thing. I don't believe it's that. I think it's a different incident that's inspired by events, or if that's what they mean by inspired. But either way, it doesn't have to be anything like too historically accurate for me. Just give me a solid practical shark with some good kills and some good tension, and I'll be there for you. Let's see. We had a couple of fun ones. We got Kira Bird. I just finished the Hell House trilogy with my husband last night. I'm so stoked to see the stream pop up. Awesome. Hell yeah. We've been going through the movies each week. This is our last week with the Hell House franchise. Our review for Hell House Lineage is out already on the channel. If you want to check that out, we might touch on that just a tiny bit, some spoiler-free thoughts. But yeah, we'll be talking about the Carmichael Manor here very, very soon. And let's see. There was a couple more in here. This is another one. Literally why I wear earbuds, sleep at night. Good call. House centipedes. They look like a row of spiders. Yeah, centipedes can be pretty rough. In my experience, mostly harmless, but they can be pretty fucking scary.
They're just so daunting. Anytime you see those things crawling around, I've had my experience with them. You go to set them outside, but those things, they move. They got so many legs, and I know they just look like something otherworldly. So
they look awful. I always think of Peter Jackson's King Kong when I see those, just because of all the creepy crawlies in the pit there. Google wolf spiders. Yeah, they're nightmare fuel. I understand. Wolf spiders are terrible. I was the only person in the theater for Sting. Oh, Gracie, I'm so jealous you got to see that on the big screen though. That's awesome. Let's see. Shark movies are my jam. Absolutely. We are big shark lovers here. I'm a supporter.
When they work, they absolutely work.
As a shark lover, I deeply appreciate a shot in Dangerous Animals that showed the shark as beautiful that was in such a nice change of pace. Yes, I really appreciated. We got to interview the director for that, and he's somebody that I absolutely love. I love The Loved Ones and Devil's Candy, and just hearing him talk about it and his approach to this and wanting to be like, yeah, the sharks in our movie are just animals. They are certainly just animals, and they're not sitting here like, coming after people directly. They're working within the confines of their nature. I appreciate that, because I think that's when not only are they the scariest, but I think it just works so well for that movie, because again, Jai Courtney is the monster in that film and he does a great job. And it's like one of those for me where it's like, I love how they approached it, how they did it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what I was excited about with Dangerous Animals, was to see that different approach where we're always looking at the sharks to be the antagonist, but they're actually in Dangerous Animals. They're just a device that our serial killer uses for killing. It's like a butcher knife or a machete, whatever you want to use. And I love that take on it. And Jai Courtney just puts on, my gosh, what a performance. Some of the charisma that he has when he's in his underwear just dancing. It's like some of the best. And I think they used that in the trailer, and it got me excited just to see the charisma that he was going to exude. And when we talk about like Matt Dillon's performance in The House of Jack Built, or Dylan McDermott's in The Clovich Killer, where it's like there are so many great performances out there from a lot of great actors that don't really get that range. You don't get to see that dark side of them. But when they finally get to show it, they just have so much fun with it. And I think that's one of the big selling points for Dangerous Animals. And just that different take, it really has a unique place. You know, I think everyone's going to have that comparison to Jaws, but it's hard to have that comparison to Jaws because it's a different kind of shark tale. It really has more of a cerebral aspect to it that I don't think we get in Jaws, because that is the epitome of a shark film. The shark, Bruce, is the antagonist, whereas this one, Jai Courtney, is the antagonist, and it just has such a different dynamic.
I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons why that movie is going to probably be, I don't know if timeless classic is the nice thing to say, but like it's one of those things where it's like, I think that's going to be popping up on many people. It's like, oh, if you haven't seen this, you need to watch Dangerous Animals kind of movie. It's going to be exciting to see that one grow. And I've just loved seeing all the love for it pop up now that it's been on streaming for a couple of weeks. It came to VOD recently, and like a lot of people have been on there just like giving letterbox ratings and things for it, being like, this was actually really good. And it's like, yeah, dude, check them out. I did want to bring this up because I know it's completely off topic, but our buddy Slasher Talk over on TikTok, try and do a little bit of the YouTube thing too. So we try to help our TikTok friends like Chuck and everybody kind of get their boost over here, because believe me, 2 platforms is a very difficult to keep up with. But they're killing it over on TikTok. He just checked out The Clovich Killer this week because he does a little like, here's a recent list and rating of like movies he's watched, and his that he put up today is The Clovich Killer, 4 out of 5 slashes. So very good. And I'm like, damn right, that movie is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, what a great watch. If you haven't ever checked that one out, it is certainly worth your time. I think it might be on Hulu right now. I'm not entirely sure, but
it is.
Okay. Yeah. Every time I checked it out, it was on Hulu. What a great story. Great tension. I put it on par with something like My Friend Dahmer. It just got a different approach to what you would think a serial killer film would have. And it's got so much texture to it in terms of the character work, and kind of makes you second guess yourself at times. And, you know, the ending and the way they tell that story is just like, yeah, a total mind fuck, you know. And I absolutely love it. It's never a disappointing watch. It's a film where there are films out there where, you know, you start it and you only have a half hour, and then you put a pin in it, and then you come back and you finish it up. Clovich Killer is one that every time I turn it on, I have to see it through. It just captivates you that much.
Yeah, I love so many aspects of that movie. That's one that like, it's one of the movies I have on like a short list that I'd love to do an essay for, just talking about. But I feel like that's one you and I could tackle together. And like, we could probably talk about that, just podcast episode at that point, talk about it for 3+ hours, just diving into it. Cause that was one just like summer of '84. Luke saw that and was just like, dude, you gotta see this. You gotta see it, man. And I'm just like, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Always a good time. Definitely. I don't know. We'll have to revisit sometime at point. We'll have to ask everyone if they want to see us start doing a long form podcast again, if we can fit it into the schedule.
Maybe an episode a month would be cool. Erica being way too generous tonight. What the heck? So the guy in the bottom can get any kind of horror poster for his background. Also, please like the stream and share. All right. We hear you. We will.
That's it. I have to get the poster. There's no getting around it anymore, y'all. It's gonna be right back here. In fact, I was thinking, man, I might set up a big PVC construct and get like a green screen going. I gotta download a program that can like put a cool little background behind there. That'd be sick. But
You don't have to
yes,
download anything, bud. StreamYard will do that for you.
my man StreamYard. But yeah, at the very least, I'll definitely be back with a poster. Appreciate you. Also, guy on the bottom, kind of dig that. It's got an aura to it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to give you the Splattercast Amazon account so you can order a couple of tapestries and stuff, because those are definitely the way to go. Just saying, in Luke and I's experience, posters are great. I love our posters. Luke had a fantastic background there with posters, but the damn glare with all the lights, terrible.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
It ruins it. Tapestries, that's the way to go. So
yeah.
And Amazon has them for like $5. So
yeah, and Temu has some interesting ones as well. If you ever peruse there, I have actually a couple coming. So the background should be get rather interesting here at some
if you
point,
want to pick one up also, I don't know if you guys have them yet, Adrian, but all of our Spirit Halloweens are starting to open up, so
really?
You can get them for $10. There's a couple of door hangers, because like that's what that Texas Chainsaw one is, actually a door cover.
What is that made out of? I've never.
It's like fabric. It's like it's almost like it's almost like a sheet. It doesn't feel the same as this one.
Yeah,
but like it's almost like a sheet. But like the weird thing about it, the thing that kind of sucks, is there is a hole there for a door handle. So that's why I have to like have it. I was gonna have it like more where like Sam is, because that's just a tapestry.
Yeah,
and I was just gonna have Texas Chainsaw on that side, but when I set them up, I was like, oh shit, there's a big old hole right there. So I had to completely swap everything around so I could cover it. Really? This is a Christian podcast, sir.
Oh man.
It's somebody mentioned, actually, you bring up glory holes. Sorry guys. Somebody mentioned Glorious on a list I watched earlier this week. Someone was talking about cosmic horror, so piqued my interest, of course, and I was like, damn, fuck yeah, glad to see Glorious getting some love.
Oh my gosh, that's a great film.
Hilarious movie, but also very good with the horror.
J.K. Simmons, come on, can't beat it.
Yeah. Just so nice to meet people who appreciate the weird things I'm passionate about. Hell yeah, dude, that's what this whole channel is about. Welcome. Yeah, we just love talking about weird, disturbing crap. Let's see. Awesome shirt. Yes, thank you. Santa Morph, love it. Let's see. What did I lose? I lost it. Oh well. Luke, why don't we talk about our next topic? I'm real excited to talk about this movie. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Oh, well, you better sit and stay, Dylan, because we're talking about Good Boy. This one, we've been trying to get our grubby little paws on this one for a hot minute here. It's always eluded us, but finally coming to the theater October 3rd. And the interesting thing about this film is that it was supposed to be more of a limited release, but after the trailer made its way online, which is really compelling, I like the take on this one, but Google search apparently of does the dog die was a big turning point in this, and getting a lot of intrigue into the film. Now it's going to have an even wider release. We don't know how many theaters it's going to hit, but it's going to be way more accessible at the theater, opening up October 3rd. So certainly excited for small filmmaking.
I'm really excited for this movie. As Luke said, we've been trying to get our hands on it. There's another one coming to Fantastic Fest. I think that's where we're going to be able to check it out. This movie, I have equal parts dreaded and been excited, because yes, we heard from one of our viewers, Mr. Boone, who got a chance to see it, that it was also very good, and that we don't have to worry necessarily about the dog dying, but it is a little bit spooky at times with what happens with the dog. It's one of those movies, though. I am all in. I don't even like. I saw the trailer, but I wish I didn't, just because like I was in the moment I saw the shot of the dog, just a cute little pup, and then the whole idea that it's going to be from his perspective. It's kind of like they have the balls to do what Bad Moon didn't do, where, Bad Moon Thor's kind of the main character in a way. Like he's one of them. And I'm talking about the dog in that werewolf movie. But like this is one of those ones where they're going full bore for it, and I'm excited. I'm real curious to see what this looks like.
Yeah, because Bad Moon is based on a book. I never read the book, but yeah, that is told from
the perspective of the dog.
Yeah, of the dog Thor. And I always thought that was an interesting take. Way too much of a bold move, I think, for what's that film, 1996, I think. But so they told more of a conventional werewolf story, which is fine. But it kind of left something on the table, I think, where Good Boy is really going to double down on being able to tell that supernatural tale and telling this from the perspective of a dog. I love that it came out that it was like, is the dog going to die? Because that's everyone's thought of what's going to happen here. I think we had that discussion with Mr. Boone when he had said he had already seen it. I don't know if we asked or he just mentioned it or what it was, but it always kind of already sets the table for that tension, especially seeing things from a dog's perspective. Who knows if it's going to be like how a human would see it, or we can misinterpret things. So I think it's going to open up an interesting narrative. I haven't seen Presence yet, and I know that's told from the point of view of a ghost, which is interesting in itself. But I love that we're kind of getting these different takes on supernatural tales, because sometimes they can get rather repetitive, just a little bit boring when we see the same tale. If they're not really building that tension, but being able to see what this one's going to bring. And honestly, we've been aware of a lot of critiques coming out of the different festivals that this has eluded us. And it seems like it's been very positive coming out of Good Boy.
It's getting a lot of love. Hey, Mr. Boone, there he is. Hey, that's me. Yeah, so that's perfect. But yeah, he alluded to us that it's very good, and that's yes. I believe he said the dog doesn't die, but it's one of those things where this movie, to me, I'm so damn excited to see it. I think it looks very, very fun. It just looks, and it's the thing that's interesting is like it's PG-13, so I am one of those things where it's like it's like this is one of those movies where I think this will be good gateway horror. I hope. That's what I'm looking for. I want this to be something that, like, anybody from the age of like 10, 13, whatever, they can pick this up if they're just starting to get their feet wet. And it's a little spooky, but it has a little bit of a heart to it. And I'm not going to lie. This dog looks very similar to my dog, just with longer, more reddish brown hair. My dog has blonde hair, but like he has that white stripe on his head and everything. And like it's one of those things, every time I see just the picture of him, like with his head turned and everything, I just think of my dog, and I'm just like, oh God, nothing better happen to this fucking dog, or I'm gonna cry.
I know. I think that we're already tense knowing that it is about a dog. I can't relive Turner and Hooch. I'll tell you what. I've been burned once, even though that's not a supernatural tale. But that gets you every time you watch that film. So this one is I'm excited for it. I think it's just gonna be an interesting installment in the supernatural subgenre, and I like that they're getting creative with it, because it's like, if you've watched the trailer, it already looks, I don't know, like otherworldly in a sense, where we're seeing so many things from the dog's perspective, and how creative can you get that? So I think Good Boy, it's one that has been on our list for a very long time. And I know we've had some strong releases this year, having backing with Shudder as well, which they've had a very good track record over the past couple of years,
man. Yeah, they're like on a 2-year streak with us right now.
Yeah, so to really have their backing as well, to see that Shudder pop up there, I'm excited for this one. Honestly, October is going to be so overloaded with horror, but I think Good Boy is going to be right at one of the tops of my list to check out.
And I can say, I see what Mr. Boone's saying here when he says the camera's the biggest star of Good Boy. Just from that trailer they released earlier this week, like it looks like they are going to, like, that was one of the things I complimented in Primitive War. I was like blown away because of the small budget of the movie, like how much they attempted and how much they got away with. Again, not all of it's perfect. This looks like they're doing the same thing. Like he says, very simple story. But like, if you move the camera, if you move all the perspective, if you get us into that feeling and give us some very unique tones and perspectives, I feel like that's going to carry you through the entire film. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I think it's one of the reasons why a movie like In a Violent Nature didn't click with a lot of people. Because although there are some unique shots and there's some fun stuff, I don't think they were a bit more safe with just we're right behind him, he's walking. It's like if they would have done some more creative shots and maybe found some interesting perspectives, maybe more people would be open to it. So I think like this is going to be that good balance. From what I understand, from what I hear, I'm hoping that's it.
Yeah, bringing that unique flavor to really using the device of the POV of the dog is really what you have to double down on to really tell that interesting tale. Because sometimes when you get into the supernatural subgenre where we base it so heavily on jump scares, and I think with using the point of view of a dog, you can really build some interesting tension and, like we said, some interesting camera work, and can really build that misinterpretation of what we're seeing, and just tackling the supernatural tale way different than what we normally see. So I'm excited for this one. I think, you can really build that eeriness. I think that's what I saw in that trailer is what really got me even more excited, because the positiveness coming out of the festivals and things were like, okay, I'm excited for this one, but being able to actually visually finally see something got me that much more excited for it.
Yeah, because we've just been living in the world of that one picture like for a while, and then they did the poster, which I love the poster. I'm not gonna lie, that poster and Marshmallow's poster are probably my two favorite posters of the year so far. And it's funny because they're both those like light baby blue tones. So I don't know if it's just I'm hot for that color right now, but like I love the design of that poster with the hands all coming towards it. It's just like it's really creative, really cool stuff. Oh, cool. Absolutely feel it would be a perfect movie to see for Halloween. I love that. That's everything. I want this, Mr. Boone, to feel like a warm cup of hot cocoa on a cold October night. Like that's what I'm looking for out of this.
Yeah, to really get us started here. I'm always looking. We do reviews all the time, and I think one of the biggest gold stars I can give a film is to work it into that autumn rotation, whether it's October, really getting your head into the vibe for Halloween. And those are the films I'm always looking for. And, I think Good Boy had a good vibe from that trailer, but I'm really excited to see this one because, if that's something we can put on every October, especially I know, Dylan, you mentioned kind of like gateway horror. If that's a film that like falls in line with that, and you can just have a lot of fun, but have a lot of great tension into it, put this on to start Halloween season. I'm all for it.
I just thought of something as we're having this conversation. We're talking about films like Good Boy, Marshmallow. Our boy Daniel over at the Cobwebs channel. He just released a couple of lists. He's always got the best ideas. I love his ideas, and I'm always jealous because I'm like, damn it, I wish I thought of that. But one of the things he talks about is just that feel good kind of like curl up with a cup of coffee or like a cup of cocoa kind of, gateway horror, kind of fun horror stuff. I think we should have him on for an episode of the Scaries here soon, maybe next month as we're getting into September. And we should just all come together and talk about just like feel good October, autumn releases, even if they're not necessarily horror. I think we should touch on that because I think that's one of those things where it's like, I think we could all vibe on that. And he's definitely the person that would be the best fit for it.
I'm absolutely down. I'm already kind of gearing up in that mode. I think we're always eager to really get our ways set, navigating into the Halloween season. And September's that moment where you start kind of easing into everything. And I always start off with a little bit, I guess you'd say, lighter horror before we get deep into a lot of the guts and gore of, deep into the Halloween season. So I know I'm gearing up for it. So I would love to do something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, just because I keep referencing it, but like got up real early this morning to go fishing. Me and my two buddies, we went out there just by the water, dude. Like I was in shorts and a t-shirt, but there was just that nice little, that breeze, that chill in the air. And I was just like, oh, this feels like October. Yes. Comfy horror. That's perfect. Yes. Yep. Cobwebs channel is great. Yes. If you have not seen the Cobwebs channel, go over there, subscribe to it. It'll be one of the best subscriptions you ever make. Daniel is one of the best. I mean, literally he's been doing lists longer than us. If anything, to be honest, I don't even know if I brought this up. before. But when I first started doing the list things, I know Luke and I had talked about it. We'd done a couple together that never really took off, but we were really wanting to tap into that medium and just kind of throw our hat in the ring. I messaged Daniel a handful of times and I was just like, hey, can you watch this video for me? Like, let me know what you think. Give me some advice. His advice was some of the best advice I've ever gotten on YouTube thus far. Like, he was so kind, so courteous, but also very like direct and just saying like, hey, I would do this. I would change this. I'd slow up on this. I'd, maybe wrap things up here. And it's just one of those things where it's like just one of the most genuine people on this platform. So give him all the support you can.
Yeah, see, really nice guy, just really in tune with horror as well. I pay attention to his list, and so diverse. And yeah, Dylan and I have those moments where it's like, that's a great idea, and like to pump him out at the rate that he does, and to just be as creative. Always a good subscription to check out his list, because I don't know how many he does a week, but I mean, he pumps out the content like crazy.
I think it's at least 1 or 2 a week, but that motherfucker's crazy, dude. He's always like doing 20 movies, and it's like, I don't know, like he must, I know he doesn't like dive nearly as deep into some of them as we do with ours with just the 5, but like, God, like sometimes putting together 5 movies and going through and editing everything and doing that, like, granted, the movies we're talking about are a lot more disgusting than some of his stuff, but like, it's one of those things where it's like, that dude just like, I don't know how he does it. He's a madman, seriously, but absolutely love him. We're going to definitely have to do that. I'm going to actually message him right now. So if you want to take us away and get us into our next story, Luke, tee us up while I send this message.
Well, do we want to hop into our review for Carmichael Manor?
What was the last story?
It was just about Saw.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it is an hour and a half. So yeah, why don't we do that? And then yeah, if we end up getting that. Oh wait, hang on. Can I ask what the channel is again? I'm a little slow. Oh, you're good. It's the Cobwebs channel. Yep. Penelope, gotcha. I'm gonna throw that up there. And let's see. Absolutely, Erica. That's literally like we talk about it all the time. Like it's one of those things where it's like you got those movies that just they feel so good. They're one of those ones that like you throw on and you feel transported. For me, American Werewolf in London's one of those. I grew up with that as a kid. That was one of my favorites. Still is one of my all-time favorite horror films. But like every time I put that on, or Return of the Living Dead is another one. We just talked about it recently. The Blob last week. That's another one that Luke showed me a couple of years ago. I'll always put that on and just feel transported, feel comfortable, just love it.
Something about Fright Night for me, I think it has to do with perfect. Like that villainous neighbor next to you, especially adding in the vampire subgenre. Yeah, it's like fantastic. There's something that is so innate in horror with that. I think it's like being a kid staring at your window and seeing something that you shouldn't be seeing, and just being scared. That's why I love Fright Nights. Silver Bullet is another one that
dude, Silver Bullet is perfect for that. You get all the seasons in that too. So it's like that's so good.
Fantastic. Like the scene where he shoots the werewolf in the eye and then goes back home, climbs up back into his room and just sits in the corner is like terrifying. Like to think there's a beast out there that I just shot in the eye, and now he could be coming for me. Like that moment of terror for me just really hits, is like, especially being a kid, no one believing that you'd seen a werewolf, because it's so unbelievable. And that's what I like about those supernatural elements, because it's like no one's believing these kids and they clearly saw something, and that just hits on a different level. I think even you can transport yourself back to being a kid when you're just sitting on the couch as an adult, and it just something gives you that terror, but it's somehow warm and fuzzy inside because you remember being scared as a kid, and it just hits on every level.
100%. I want to actually ask the guy in the corner for a second, because we haven't heard from him in a minute, before we dive into this review. Sir, what are some, they don't necessarily have to be comfort, but what are some of the movies, TV shows, things you really like to watch around October there?
October, I like to get real classic with some of the slasher ones, or Evil Deads, or Cabin in the Wood type theme movies. Just love those. As always, summarize the fall vibe for me. Of course, my fiance, she's, you know, putting up Hotel Transylvania and all those classic films like that, which are even more comfortable, to be honest, because it's like there's literally nothing there that could trigger anybody. You know what I mean? Unless you're a vampire. But yeah, man, good times. She's a huge Twilight fan too. Twilight's not a horror, franchise, but it has
No,
some of those
Twilight's a
vibes.
vibe. I get you. I feel you.
It's like creepy, cold, windy. Leaves are off the trees. I mean, come on, man. That's October.
And that's the thing, like Twilight, I feel like I bring this up anytime someone mentions it. It's like, yeah, people hate those movies, and I get it. But I'm like, my wife and I get a hankering like every couple of years, and we just binge watch the whole series. And it's like, yeah, they're not great sometimes, but like, I don't know. Those were huge movies. It's kind of like Harry Potter for people like my age and stuff like that. It's like those were massive when they came out. They were unavoidable. And now it's just pure nostalgia. So it's like, I just love them.
Yeah, my buddy does Star Wars the same way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Well, I think now is the time. We will dive into our last review on the Hell House series. And I will start off by saying, just kind of reiterating, because again, these are all very fresh watches for Luke, so I really want to give him the floor to give us his insights and his thoughts. But 2023's Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor. I was very hesitant going into this movie after the trilogy because, as I've said every week, so I won't beat the dead horse. Love the first one, had issues with the other two. There were moments that I enjoyed. This, to me, the way that it starts and the way that everything kind of, presents itself as almost this completely different haunt with maybe some very small threads to the other one. But as the story progresses, we get more and more information and we start to really connect dots. I thought this was a really solid return to form. This is certainly my second favorite in the Hell House series. I absolutely love it.
And I actually think I had a different experience, obviously, because you were kind of beaten down with 2 and 3 and then watched Carmichael Manor as soon as it had come out. And that was not the case for me. These are all fresh watches. So I think maybe my expectation was a little bit higher than yours, just because you did speak a little bit highly of 4. And I will say, certainly way better than 2 and 3. I think 2, as we open up with 2, it felt like they were trying, and even with in the studio set, it just didn't feel organic. In 3, I gave them a little bit more credit because they tried to step outside of the studio rather than just putting a green screen behind them, but it still felt like they were trying to fit into that found footage aspect, and it didn't necessarily click as it did with the original. But with Carmichael Manor, I felt never fully got there with the first one. The first one's obviously a classic. I don't think it's in a league of its own, even as we've completed everything and seeing the newest one here. First one easily in a league of its own, but Carmichael Manor, it gives me similar vibes. It feels like a little bit more organic with its storytelling in building that tension that we were looking for, that we wanted out of this franchise. And I like the story that's attached to it. It doesn't get into, I think with all these, with the exception of the first one, Stephen Cognetti really just kind of got, it feels like in his own head with trying to really establish this lore and expand the narrative that it gets a little long in the tooth sometimes, where I'm like, okay, I'm understanding it, but we kind of keep going back, where it's, again, I just want the eeriness. I just want the tension. And Carmichael Manor does have some of that eeriness and tension, but it just kind of gets tied down to a lot of the narrative that we're trying to establish again and do the connective tissue between the Abaddon and Carmichael Manor and all these characters. But it does pose some interesting scares. There was one the one that did catch me off guard was with the I'm forgetting her name, but she's doing the she's working as a realtor and she's showing the houses, and the one like jump scare, the one lady that pops up right beside her, that one did catch me off guard. I was not expecting it to, pop up. I thought we were just going to be right beside the window. I wasn't expecting her to come right next to her. So that one did catch me. So I think there are some good scares in this one. Again, they never get to what that original is or what I was really looking for. But I think this one is certainly better than 2 and 3.
Yeah, and again, I think like just because one is always going to stand out on top. This one to me though, when I first watched it again, being so caught up with this idea of dealing with another haunt, and then I felt like Stephen Cognetti did a much better job in this than he did certainly in Lineage, with kind of just piecing in little bits of the Abaddon Hotel. Like I love the whole idea of, you know, the antique store and everything, and you're learning that it's like some of the stuff has kind of, you know, crossed paths with other things, like the manor has crossed paths with the Abaddon and things like that. I thought that was a really fun way to tie this lore together and make it a little bit more interesting. Now, I think that we need to be upfront here, because I think that although I definitely believe that maybe I hyped this up a little too much for you, admittedly, there was a watching kind of fluke that I probably should have told you a little bit more, that it does eventually tie back to the Abaddon, because I felt really bad when you told me that you ended up watching the 5th one before the 4th one.
Yes, that did happen.
Yeah.
I was gonna jump into that. So
I fucked that all up.
No worries at all. It was interesting watch, certainly, because we were gonna get the review out on the channel, and I thought the 4th did not tie. I thought it was just a separate haunt completely. So I went ahead and watched the 5th one, in just thinking that one was gonna tie back, and then as I was watching the 5th one, some characters and some things were happening, and I was like, okay, this isn't, it's supposed to be hitting in a way that it's not hitting for me. So then I watched the final film, and then I had to go back and watch Carmichael Manor. And then it started to all click with me of how everything was going to go. So, yeah, I wasn't expecting this one to tie in of any sort. I thought it was just a completely separate animal completely. I thought we were just dealing with a separate haunt. And then as soon as I jumped in this one, I said, okay, this is how it connects to Lineage.
Yeah, I feel really bad. I do feel like I misguided you. I honestly thought I was doing you a favor by leaving that as a surprise, because like that was the same for me. I never saw a trailer for Carmichael Manor. So it was one of those things where it's like, for me, I did not know that this was going to tie back to the Abaddon at all. So watching this, and as we're going through, and then you start seeing these little things pop up and they start mentioning it, and you start realizing where we are and just how far we are from everything. It's one of those where I was like, oh, this is so good. This really feels organic, and it really feels like we're getting back to the roots of that first movie, where everything feels organic and nothing feels forced, and like we're trying to necessarily bog everybody down with all of this lore. Now it goes a little hard at the end, I'll admit, but it's exactly like the first film for me, where it's just like, yeah, do I need the cult stuff at the end? No, not really. But at the end of the day, that's a part of the DNA of Hell House. It's one of those things where I know that I have to be on board or off with it. And I knew getting into it that there's probably going to be some cult elements in this. And as it's gone along, especially now rewatching this again, it's one of those ones for me where it's like, I still think this is a little bit better of a sell than it was as a jarring kind of cut in Hell House for me. The first one, where it's just like we have these people running around in hoods and capes and stuff, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing, guys? What is this? And yeah, so it's a little bit of a better sell. The one thing I will say, I love the Hell House clown. I think he's amazing. He's got a really great scene in the new movie, but this, oh my god, the clowns in this movie, and I don't know, just the old footage, the things that we see them, I almost feel like they're creepier. I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought the couple clowns we get here are certainly spooky.
Oh, absolutely. I think they maintain how off-putting they can be. Sometimes in 2 and 3, it just felt like,
They're
and
just
certainly,
there.
yeah. And then when we get into the new one, especially where we get into overuse, I think, and it just doesn't feel as organic as it should. But in Carmichael Manor, they did find a way to more so bring it back and really make those scenes mean more, because they put an emphasis on the clowns, and are able to create the eeriness that I think was missing in 2 and 3 to an extent. I mean, 2 and 3 have some moments in there, but overall it just felt like, again, too narrative heavy, and we're pushing forward with something that doesn't necessarily work. And I think Carmichael Manor did get back to the basics. And Dylan, I don't think you necessarily overhyped it for me. I think, I just had an expectation there of, and I wasn't even to be on par with the original. I just think, I was expecting a separate haunt, and we started that narrative started creeping in a little bit, because it's like, I think if we didn't get so stuck on the Abaddon or how this all ties in to those events, Stephen Cognetti shows those moments of, like, if he just focused on completely separate haunts for every installment here and just did what made the original so great when we're at the Abaddon, he could easily do it. But it just seems like he kept going back to that story and be like, oh yeah, I got to add this. I got to do this. I got to add this connective tissue. And it's like, I just really want a scary story. In the moments of Carmichael Manor where we do see just that scariness, where it feels like sometimes it loses itself in the eeriness in that story that we want to tell, and those absolutely work. The only problems I have with it are when we get too deep into the woods of Abaddon, how that all ties in with Carmichael Manor, and those portions for me tend to slow the pacing down a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see where this one might sit with you as time goes on too, once we kind of get away, because I think, like, again, going into a little bit of 5 here, we'll touch on this one just slightly, because I really, you can't talk about 4 now without talking about, because they are literally right into one another. I think, and no spoilers, don't worry, we won't spoil anything from the new one. All we'll say is that I think, for me, this movie succeeds because, again, it reveals everything as like a surprise once it's kind of like, oh, it's all tying in together. And yet, whether that's disappointing or not, it worked for me. I know it worked a little less for you. I think, like, for me, when I watched this for the first time, and when I watched Lineage for the first time, Lineage has expectations. This one didn't have expectations for me. And Lineage, I think, almost built up way too much, with it being the final movie, with it being the one that's like, yeah, we're going to wrap everything up and we're going to do it. It's just one of those things for me where it's just like, dude, I think you just really need to step away from Hell House. I think he's doing the right thing by leaving the Abaddon. Like, maybe not step away from Hell House necessarily, but like, just put this lore to rest and let's just work on some other haunts. Because yeah, he's really good at it. He's really, really solid at what he does. But like, it just seems like he's always holding himself back, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I think almost taking a break in between installments, I think, could have helped a little bit, just because we get so narrative heavy. And I think we get this, especially when if you're writing a TV series, you have your own TV series that you want to do, and you want to add this, and you wanted to keep going. You know what I mean? You can't help yourself but to keep expanding the lore. Or even when you're writing a script, you kind of find yourself sometimes off in the woods of like, oh, I've expanded this whole element that did not need to be expanded, but you couldn't help yourself in doing. And I think, almost taking breaks in between each Hell House may have done some good to kind of just reapproach it with fresh eyes and bring what makes everything great about that original into the following installments. And I think, like, stepping away now and really just letting Hell House be is probably the best bet. I was excited to see more of a cinematic narrative with the found footage, not doing the found footage aspect of it. And we talk about in our review, there are some great scenes in there. The opening scene to Lineage is fantastic.
Oh, it has such a strong start. Oh my God.
And then it kind of just falls dramatically after that. The pacing gets real slow, and it just doesn't hit. Again, we get into a lot of the familiar things that I don't like about the subsequent installments in Hell House, and that pacing just really stalls out a lot of the times, and we get into overuse of certain familiar characters, and it just doesn't overall work. But I think the expectation was high. There was a lot riding on it, because when was the original? Was that 2015?
No, it was earlier than that. That was 2013,
13?
2014. I'll look.
So I mean, we've been with the franchise over a decade, and we're expecting this phenomenal wrap up, and I think it kind of just fizzled out. Unfortunately, there was just so much
Oh
riding.
no,
on
you're
it.
right. 2015. My bad.
2015. Okay, so we've been with it for a decade, so there was just a lot riding on it, and it was missing something. Unfortunately, it didn't really hit, and I think it's. I don't even think it was as offensive for me. And, I'm over exaggerating here, I think, to say offensive, but, 2 and 3 just did not hit for me. I don't even put Lineage, as the worst for me in terms of viewing. But Carmichael Manor is up there. It's the, my second after the original Hell House. But I told Dylan this. I don't know necessarily for me if there is a silver medal in the franchise. I think, Carmichael Manor right now sits like at a bronze, and with the Hell House being the easy gold medal. And there's really nothing that is even in the conversation of the original, just because it is that damn good.
Yeah, I think my favorite little review that I saw about this when we were doing research, I pulled it up here again. On IMDb, if you just go to the featured reviews, there's a 7 rating from somebody named Trash Gang. I just love his opening line. No effects, almost no blood, and it still works. I think that's the best way you can sum up that first Hell House movie. It does the Halloween, Michael Myers, like very first Halloween kind of effect where it's like, yeah, there's hardly any blood in it, and it is still one of the scariest movies ever. Like, I just love all of the little jump scares, everything they set up, and it's weird. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, I usually don't love stuff like that, and that movie still gets under my skin. I still get a hankering, especially around this time of year as we're getting into those colder months. Like, once Halloween starts up, and I've already been in some Spirit Halloweens, so I'm getting that hankering. I'm seeing all the like animatronics and the little haunted houses starting to pop up. I'm like, I kind of want to watch Hell House again. We just watched them recently, so I'm just like, probably not super soon, but maybe by the end of Halloween, I'll check it out one more time. Because yeah, that movie's such a breeze. And I think, like, yeah, if there's anything that I take away from this series is that I adore the fan base for Hell House. I love how dedicated everybody is, and I 100% support Stephen Cognetti and his team for this. I think it's so fun. I love that just such an indie, little, tiny found footage movie now has 5 entries, and it's the same team doing all that they can to just expand it and do what they want to do with it. This didn't get overtaken by a giant studio like Paranormal Activity did. It didn't get beaten into the ground. Even though some of the sequels aren't necessarily working for us, some of these sequels are some of people's favorites. They get super scared. I know, sorry, where was it? It was Kira said that, her and her husband watched all 3 this weekend. And she's talking about how 2 and 3 literally freaked her out so bad. It's like, I love that. I'm glad that you have that. I'm glad that that works for you. May not work for us all the way, but it is certainly something that, like I said earlier, I will certainly try to buy a box set when this thing finishes out, just because, again, I love that first film so much. But this is a franchise that I love to support. I really enjoy being a fan of Hell House.
Absolutely. I can even say, maybe not enjoying each and every installment. I don't know. There's something about this punk rock, do it yourself kind of franchise that is just going to keep going, and in a different setting, if this would have been released in 2000 or, 2005, it probably we would have got that first one, maybe the second one, and it would have just died right there. There would have been no continuation. But like, we're in such a different space for the horror genre, and seeing a lot of these smaller properties be able to maintain an audience, find that audience that absolutely adores the storytelling, and really find that outlet. This appearing on Shudder and having those releases. I think what Lineage has I think it's released in October on Shudder.
Yep.
So it's certainly going to be. Maybe it didn't work for people at the theater, but there's still a whole huge portion that hasn't seen the film yet, and it could work for a lot of people. There are some diehards for 2 and 3, which I get it. It's got some scary elements to it. And I love the concept as a whole for Hell House. I think it just would have been scarier if we just would have focused on separate haunts, especially looking at what Stephen Cognetti was able to do with the original. But yeah, if if a physical release is with the entire box set of this, I would love to own it as well, just to be able to support it. And it's exciting to see a small franchise like this, actually have so many different installments, and to be able to expand on that storytelling. Now, maybe the narrative didn't work for everybody, that connective tissue that they implement, but it's really heartwarming to see that they were able to tell that story. There's so many directors out there that say, we had a direction and this is where we wanted to go, and then it just died and we never got to see it. And those are some of the biggest what ifs in the horror space. Of that would have been great to see that story be extended and to see what would have spawned off of it. But Hell House was able to see it through. Again, maybe didn't work for everybody, but hey, they were able to get to the finish line, at least for now.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great place to end the conversation for now. Obviously, you guys in the chat have been chiming in. We're going to read through some of those, as well as if you have anything else you want to follow up with Hell House. Hell House open discussion. All I ask is that if you have seen Lineage, please, no spoilers. I just want to keep that, even though some people aren't loving it. Just let's be respectful. There are people who aren't going to get to theaters to see it. Some people don't even have it playing near them. So let's just wait till everybody can see it on Shudder, and we'll go from there. I certainly think that it's a mighty feat, and I am excited, honestly, to see what Stephen Cognetti does next, because I think, like, going forward, I think he could definitely produce some creepy stuff, and I'm there for it. But let's see here. We will start here. Southern Stacker, best horror movie of 2025 so far. I've had a couple that have been bouncing around. I think Sinners is still up there for me. It's certainly a movie I've now watched a bunch. I keep putting that movie on randomly, just because, like, there are certain scenes that I love. Like, I've been watching the scene of him playing the guitar in the car as they're driving down the road. I don't know. I just love that so much. And Bring Her Back was great. I think it may not be my favorite horror movie of the year, but a movie that I still want to keep pushing to people is Marshmallow. So I'm going to say Marshmallow. Certainly Marshmallow might be top 3 right now, but, like, as far as best of the year, I still got to wait.
For me right now, so I've mentioned this a handful of times. As soon as we see something, I kind of put it on my list to try and order out everything that I've seen. Right now, Weapons is fighting for that top spot, as well as Bring Her Back. For me, those are probably the two biggest ones that really work for me. Sinners is a great film. I think, looking back, I think Sinners is probably the best film for me of the year, but just not best horror, because Sinners has a lot of great stuff, but I find myself, a lot of the great scenes in Sinners are not horror scenes for me that I want to go back and watch.
True.
And when we get deeper into the horror roots of Sinners, it just moves a little bit quick for me. But what a great film that is. Weapons and Bring Her Back did a lot of really interesting things for me. So those are probably my two favorite right now. But I know Dylan mentioned Marshmallow. That's a great film. I want to mention The Rule of Jenny Penn. I think that one is
Jenny Penn was great.
Film. It's got a great psychological element to it. It's just got a great eerie tension to it. So that is kind of more of a lesser known pick, I think. So if you haven't checked out Rule of Jenny Penn, that one is definitely worth your time. A lot of great performances on that one as well. It just is really interesting storytelling. So it's very diverse. My top 10, I honestly, over the past couple years or couple months here, it's just been really jam-packed. There's been a lot of movement just because a lot of strong films have come out. We haven't even got to October.
I really feel like this is going to be our most diverse best of the year list since we've been doing this. Like, this will be year 4 of doing best of the year. And so I this is going to be a crazy list, because, like, I'm going to have movies that are like independent little tiny budget things, giant budget movies. I mean, we have a couple of those, but I feel like every year, especially once we get out of October and we're getting into the final stretch of the year, it's like, there's like your Nosferatus and things, but, like, I feel like October of last year really just threw up a couple of bangers real quick. And then it was just like, even again, the year before that with 2023, When Evil Lurks, we didn't see that till the end of October. And, like, that became my favorite film of the year. So, that it's too early to call it, but yeah, that was great. Weapons is another one that I really want to watch Weapons again. I've been really getting a hankering to go back to that one. And then obviously we were talking about it earlier, Dangerous Animals. That's another one I really, really loved. And there's a lot of good shit and stuff that I still, again, need to rewatch. I want to see The Monkey again. Oh man, we forgot Together came out this year. Together was great. What a wonderful little body horror film that is.
That was a lot of fun. I mean, again, you get some substance vibes in there as well, not like heavy substance vibes, but you know, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And I love the story that's attached to that. I love these stories that we don't need an over explanation for everything. It just kind of is this idea that's out there, and we take it face value for what's going on. So, you know, that is another strong one. I think, especially over the past couple months, that one ended up somewhere on my list. I can't remember exactly what placement that is, but that's certainly in the conversation as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Oh, I'm having so much fun. I almost forgot to do my homework. Well, don't forget to do that. We put your education before us. We are not worth it. I promise. So definitely prioritize. But yes, that does warm my heart. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, hey, can you check me out and give me some pointers? I love the way you break down horror movies. Oh, sure. I mean, I can definitely do that, and I'm sure Luke and I can watch some of your content. You can, if you want Forensic, you can shoot us an email. I'm pretty terrible at responding all the time to them, but if you want to shoot us an email, it's in our description. And just like that way we have a direct line with you. I can definitely take a look at some of your videos and let you know. I can tell you right up front, I'm not doing anything special. Luke, I don't know. Are you doing anything special?
No, I'm it's like the blind leading the blind, you know. It's just
seriously
kind of, going out there, see what works. But yeah, send us an email. We'll certainly check out some content. I love seeing content from new creators and things we haven't seen before, because
I hate it. It just makes me feel inferior, because I'm like, damn it, these people are so good.
That's why I like it. You start beating yourself up and be like, why haven't I thought of this? So yeah,
duality of man over here.
Certainly send us stuff, and we will check it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely like looking at new stuff. I found a lot of really interesting topics. Again, I was watching, I forget who, I can't shout him out, I forgot the channel, but again, somebody whose like whole channel is basically just talking about cosmic horror movies, and like it's just been such a trip. Every time they post a video, I'm like, yes, let's talk about some weird ones. So because he just talked about Glorious, and there's actually a couple that I didn't know about from their channel, so I have a list of things I want to go and see, because anytime I can hear about some new cosmic horror that I've never seen, that's an exciting day for Dylan. So let us see. Oh man. Okay, everybody's kind of talking about agreeing with us, talking about pieces. Some people are saying, hey, lots of people talking about school. So definitely, please, guys, prioritize your education. You guys can do it. I'm going to spoil it. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yes, keep up the great work. Those of you in school, proud of you. It's hard work, but learning is a lifelong practice, and you're doing it. That is very well put, Kira. I like that. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just skipping through. I know people are having conversations with each other, so I'm just trying to find it. Oh, here we go. Does anyone remember the dread from the first Jeepers Creepers? Setting that mood is like catching lightning in a bottle. When the dude was dumping bodies got me. Yeah, Jeepers Creepers. I mean, Victor Salva is a piece of shit. I'll put that out there in front of it. But goddamn, the first Jeepers Creepers is a fucking classic. I love that movie.
Absolutely. You know, and that's, I don't know how anyone else feels. I always feel weird talking about that film. I never know if it's okay to talk about because of the issue attached to it. Because Jeepers Creepers is a fucking creepy film, and the chase scene at the beginning when you see that the truck pulling up behind them and they're just casually having a conversation, it always terrifies me. And that initial chase scene at the beginning, so scary. When we're in that one lady's house and she comes out with the shotgun.
Oh, the cat lady.
That whole sequence, terrifying. I think it's got so many great elements to it, and I love the lore that was attached to it. The Creepers, fantastic. Unfortunately, we have that controversy that's attached to it, and I think maybe it flies under the radar a little bit just because we don't talk about it as much. But Jeepers Creepers, the original, man, that's a great film.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that I always go back to. At least every couple of years, I will watch the first two. Unfortunately, I saw Reborn a couple of years ago, and I haven't had a rewatch in quite a while because of that. Put the bad taste in my mouth for that. Not definitely different creative team, different direction entirely, but yeah, no, this is certainly a movie that I think is one of the. Dare I say, like, I know we talked about like Art the Clown being one of the more modern slasher icons, but as far as just horror icons, I could say the early 2000s, Jeepers Creepers, the Creeper, he's such a recognizable face. Like, I mean, the trench coat, the hat, just him with his wings and everything. And I will be there to say it. I don't know how necessarily people feel about the second movie. I really like the second movie. I know it's way simpler than the first, and it doesn't nearly dive into as much lore. But I think that one's just as fun with them being on the bus and stuff. Like, there are some creepy ass images in there that I remember being a kid watching that on the Sci-Fi Channel, always sticking with me.
Yeah, the original Jeepers Creepers is certainly haunting, and I think, like, looking at the sequel, Jeepers Creepers 2, I enjoyed that film. I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's not as quality as that first one. I think the first one it established a new horror icon to an extent. Yeah. There was no follow-up, unfortunately, because 3 is a really big quality drop off.
What?
And it just becomes terrible after that. I watched Reborn, and my gosh, okay,
I saw Reborn at the theater.
I know
you made the best choice you could have that day.
Yeah, and then I
said,
watched
"Fuck
it
that."
for our. I don't even think we ended up doing the Better Off Deads that year, and I watched it anyway in prep for it, and my gosh, that one still sticks with me. So yeah, it's that the Creeper should have been an actual horror icon that had been talked about more, because that Jeepers Creepers used to play on, I think it was USA maybe, all the time.
Yep.
And I would watch it without fail anytime that film was on. There's something terrifying about it.
Those are great Halloween season movies too. Both
certainly.
Of those.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I remember when Voodoo at the time had it on sale. It was like a 1-2 combo for $5, and I was like, I had not seen these films in ages, and I picked both those up and watched them back to back. Always good watches. First one, iconic. Second one, I think still scratches the itch. Just doesn't fully get there with the first one. But yeah, the rest of the series is trash as well.
Yeah, it ain't great. Let's see. Why is Erica a mod for most horror creators? Because she's the best. I don't know what to tell you. She's just awesome. She comes in and she's always very kind, very helpful, and just very reliable. We have a lot of great people that have been considered for that. And to be fair, one of our good friends, Jake, she's been a mod for him for a long time. So I trust his word with that. And I know I can trust Erica. And obviously, she's doing a kick-ass job. So there you go. And actually, while we're on the topic, I just saw this, Erica. I think you and I are going to have a conversation about that, because I am a mess. I barely even know how to navigate Discord. I'm a fucking old man when it comes to that app. You can ask my friends. I'm terrible at it. Adrian, you're in the Discord chat with our friends. It's a nightmare. I use Facebook Messenger, and that's
granted we were in like 20 group chats, but yeah, it's been pretty big pain trying to migrate everybody to one chat, let alone the Discord chat.
So if someone could teach us how to do that, or at least help us manage that and make it something worthwhile, and you know how to do it, Erica, I am so down, because I'm terrible at Discord. It is not me. And not to put old man Luke there down, but if I don't know how to operate it, I don't think he knows how to operate Discord. So
I don't even know what Discord is. No, I have no clue. I'm aware of it, but yeah, I don't think I've ever actually used Discord.
Yeah, it definitely has its uses. I'll use it mostly for when we play video games, but that's where our group chat is now. And the thing that drives me crazy is that it's like there's chats, there's like a main one, and then there's subgroup chats. So it's like there's subtopics. I don't think you have to set it up like that all the time. That could just be how our friends did it, but it's very frustrating at times, because it's like you'll just be like, trying to share something and it's be like, oh my God, they made this separate chat for memes, the separate chat for, we have one for fishing. Cause like I said, we've been going fishing a lot. And it's like, why can't we just have one chat room where we just all drop messages in like civilized people? But
It's
you know,
the
it's a
complexity
mess.
of it.
It's a mess. But let's see here. Sinners is awesome. Yes, yes. Weapons is tied with Sinners for me. That's a very good problem to have there, my friend. Hey, I do movie reviews on horror movies. Can you give me some pointers?
We already talked
I
about
love
this
the
one.
way you did. Oh, did we? Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Okay, my bad. I accidentally scrolled all
And
the way up.
Forensic is found our email. I'm looking at the chat as well. So
Perfect.
Splattercast kills.
I'm gonna have to scroll down. Multiple combos going on. Okay, I am way behind, so I'm just gonna scroll all the way down. I'm sorry if I'm missing anything important, so I just need to catch up because I am way too far behind. Yeah, I actually remember I tried to do this. I used to share my screen to watch movies with friends on my movie server, and I had it super simple. No 40,000 different chats. Yeah, I also want to figure that out. I've been looking into a couple of ways to do this, but definitely with Splattercast Cinema, I want to start doing that for Patreon members, of having them come in and watch movies with us, and then we can kind of refer to that and stuff. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to all of that. And okay, I think I'm getting caught up here. Oh yeah, here Gracie has this. I get uncomfortable talking about Jeepers Creepers too, but it's interesting that it's kind of frowned upon to talk about Jeepers Creepers, but Rosemary's Baby is praised consistently.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's interesting. I think the issue with that too is that like Rosemary's Baby, well, I guess by the time Victor Salva got found out by the public, you know, Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 were already popular, so my point just went out the window, because I was going to say Rosemary's Baby was like an all-time classic by the time that all caught up with him. And it's just mighty unfortunate, you know. I wish people could just respect people's boundaries and be cool and not be creeps, but that's the world we live in, unfortunately.
It's too much to ask, apparently. What the hell's going on?
What the hell's going on? Love it. Little Tremors reference there for you. Let's see. Do we want to talk last little story here before we wrap up? I know we have Saw fans in here, and we rarely ever talk about Saw, but I do think this is an interesting little tidbit that does paint a rather interesting picture of where things could have gone for Saw X. Luke, you want to lead us into that?
Sure. So we got a little tidbit of, you know, some of the insight of what had went down with Saw. Now, it's not much. It's just a little blurb there from the producer saying that, you know, initially we were going to get Saw X, I think this year, or Saw 11 this year after the success of Saw X. And what was supposed to take place, it was supposed to really pick up after like 30 seconds after Saw X, and that's what we were going to go into. So we're going to really have that connector piece from Saw X and kind of finding that placement right in the actual Saw franchise and kind of getting that fallout. And apparently, you know, everyone was on board, but the two producers could not settle on a way to, I guess, tackle that aspect of it. So it kind of sat, and they really couldn't see eye to eye. And now, of course, Blumhouse has that property, including, you know, the 10 previous films as well. They don't really know what's going on with Saw or what that's going to look like. So, I mean, it raises so many different questions. I know a lot of people were happy with Saw X and where that film had went. For me, you know, it didn't necessarily hit as much. Maybe it was a little overhyped for me. I don't know. But it didn't really scratch the itch I was looking for in terms of reigniting my love for. I love the original film, and I think the second one's a great follow-up. But, you know, I didn't get those same feels with Saw X. So it's more of a what could have been, but we'll see what Blumhouse does. I mean, they're doing a bang-up job, aren't they?
They're always knocking it out of the park. They never miss, right? No, I guess when it comes to this, I will never understand, and I guess maybe I'd have to be in their shoes to fully get it, but like Saw is a franchise that, even though it has its diehard fans, and I can't even say I'm one of them, like I love the first Saw movie. I even would say I like the first three a lot. But like Saw, like X for me, I loved it. I thought it was great. You know, I'll never fully be on board like a diehard fan, I think. But it's one of those things for me where it's like, I really liked what they did there. I thought it was different. It was fun. It was very cool to just kind of, you know, take the series in kind of a prequel ish direction without hiding it and just really giving us obviously Jigsaw as the main character for once, you know, because it's always the traps that become, you know, center focus, and they should. They're the big money grab. But like, this is one of those times where I really felt like they leaned into the character a lot more and got us more in his shoes. And it felt like for the first time in a while that this series had a direction. And I just think it's absolutely insane that after all the success, after all the praise, even critical praise, like you got to remember, Saw X was getting very good reviews. People loved this movie. I don't understand what differences you could have to not just say, hey, let's work this out so we can get another one out there. Because even if the next one wasn't that great, it was going to be a smash hit, at least for the opening weekend, because you were going to have people who loved the last one who go and see it. And I know that's a very cynical way of looking at it, but like, that's just how, you know, productions and studios operate. Unfortunately, they always go with the dollar first. And I don't know. This just feels weird to me that it's like, you guys really couldn't settle your differences, having a story already laid out, having things ready to go, and you just couldn't put it aside so badly that the rights got sent to another studio. Wild. Just absolutely wild to me.
Yeah, you know, and I'm curious to see what the breakdown and approach was exactly, because if it's picking it up 30 seconds after Saw X, I don't know necessarily what the difference in storytelling or what they wanted to do in terms of tackling Saw 11, just because what else really can you do? I think where Saw X didn't necessarily hit for me, where it's like I didn't really need to humanize John Kramer more, and where we, you know, hey, I've seen Maleficent, and that was an interesting take on a villain, but then we started getting so many villains' backstories, and I was like, you know, maybe it would have been more interesting to try to do that back in, you know, 2009 and try to tell that version of the story, because then my hesitancy here was what seemingly what we were going to get was kind of shoehorning in more stories to have Tobin Bell back and be like, oh yeah, here he is, and we're going to continue this story that's placed in between a bunch of different installments just so we can have Tobin Bell back and John Kramer back, because that's what I think a lot of people really prefer in terms of storytelling. And then, you know, killing them off, you're like, well, what do we do? So we kind of just start that placement of stories. So I don't know. I think, yeah, Saw 11 was going to be a big hit regardless, just because we're back up on the horse and we're telling these stories again, and the bread and butter is the traps. And we see it with Final Destination Bloodlines, where that had some interesting story work. I think that one worked for me more so than something like Saw X because of the character work there, but also intertwining this, what we see with the Final Destination franchise. That one hit a little bit better than something like Saw X, where it was a little more samey, and then we were just kind of putting some backstory to Tobin Bell that didn't necessarily, I don't know if it was required for me to enjoy Saw.
And I don't know, I think for me, I kind of feel like I went with like what everybody else was feeling at that time, where it's like, I didn't necessarily take it like a Maleficent thing. I always like saw as a franchise that, unfortunately, even though we had like Billy and I know John Kramer, we've always switched different like villains, and I know it was always to facilitate a twist. So it's one of those things where it's like, dude, I don't know. I think just the different take and actually seeing him like as a person and just taking that, I was ready for that. And I felt that's why that movie worked for me. Now, Saw X is not something that like I'm going to ride home about and defend every day, but that was one of those movies where it was just like, there was a clear, like, just difference in experience for both Luke and I. I can say, because like where he felt that way, I was with a lot of the other folks where I was just like, I thought that was fun. I thought it was good. But again, I don't go in there expecting, the world from these movies like some of the fans do. So like I'm still not a diehard. So like even though we felt differently, I totally see where like Luke's coming from. You know what I mean? Like I get 100% why and how he feels. He doesn't have to justify it to me. But like it was just kind of a surprise. Like I thought it was a simple story and it was to the point, and it's certainly one that when I go back and watch the first three, I might just jump right over to that one and just to check it out. Because say what you will, I like Tobin Bell. I think he definitely deserved his flowers for Saw X.
Oh yeah, there's no indictment on Tobin Bell at all. I think more Tobin Bell is always the best. To be able to carry on the John Kramer character. I don't know necessarily if killing him off in the franchise was the best bet, just because, hey, man, it's John Kramer. It is, that's who you have. Billy the Puppet, it's like Jigsaw, all that. It all works. It all works perfect. Like,
when did they kill him? I'm sorry to cut you off.
I don't know. Was that 4 or was that 3?
I think it's 4.
It was rather early on comparatively to how deep the franchise went. And I think, they realized their mistake with that. It was like, we kill him off for a twist, basically. And then it's like, well, we just killed off a mainstay in the franchise. And that's why I think Saw X exists, to bring him back and find that placement to kind of, I think there was a longing for that character. It's probably why Saw X exists, just to see him back.
Brother, they killed him in Saw 3.
Okay, I thought it was very early on.
It was. Because it's just one of those things where it's like, at the time, there's no way they could have known, at least. Because again, I think Saw 3 kind of ties everything up relatively well for that trilogy. I don't think they could have known that they were going to get to 10 entries. There's no way they could have seen that coming, especially with a reboot and a spin-off kind of thing like that. That's crazy. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, killing him off, I think they immediately realized what a mistake that was.
Yeah, and that's why I think, Saw X, I think it was a warm welcome for a lot of people, just because we actually get to see Tobin Bell back in a substantial role. He's not like a flashback of, facilitating some other part of the story, where it's like, okay, it gets to be his story. And I understand it. I love Tobin Bell as an actor. I think he's great. The John Kramer character is phenomenal, but it just didn't hit in the way I felt like we were going to get more interesting storytelling. And we fell back into the same traps that we do with the rest of the Saw franchise. And it just felt like, I don't know if it necessarily justified his existence as much as I thought it was going to.
I love it. And then, we're talking Tony Todd in here as another icon, man. Definitely. I know we went on, recently we talked about All That Again, and that was definitely one of those. You know what I saw? Final Destination Bloodlines is on HBO Max now. Yes. So I'm going to have to go back and give that a watch here soon. I've been wanting to. I know my dad wants to sit down and watch it. I don't know if he's sat down and gotten around to it, but he'll be either listening to this now or he'll be listening to this VOD tomorrow. So let me know if you've checked it out, Dad. I'm curious to see what you're thinking, because he is surprised to see how much love that new one got. So I know he's excited to see it.
I was surprised to see as much love as that one got, and to do a video on that. And it's like, I love that coming out of the theater and actually more dissecting it, and even doing that little section.
Thank you, Paula.
Tony Todd. I mean, it's in my top 10 of the year. And the start of the year, I would have been like, Bloodlines is probably just going to be something I watched at the theater and easily forgot about. But it's through and through, that film, it is way better than any expectation I had going into it.
Yeah, and I agree with Paula here. Absolutely miss him. He's going to be a legend. I watched some essay video, or was listening to it this week while I was doing some chores, and it was just talking about his performance in Spider-Man. It was some of the behind the scenes for Spider-Man 2 and stuff, and just like hearing him as Venom and everything, it's just like, I'm so glad he got to live out that role before he passed, because I think like his voice, it's kind of like, he's one of the few people I think could do like Spawn really well. Wait, didn't he do Spawn?
Yes.
Okay, that's right.
No, he didn't. Sorry, that was Keith David. That's right. Okay, my bad. I was like, they just both have very iconic voices, so it's kind of like one of those where it's like,
he could totally kill off. He could do Spawn. But again, I think Keith David, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I see him as Candyman necessarily, but I don't know if you can really do that. I don't know if we could really replace him. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
really
hate to think about it.
irreplaceable, I think. But man, Tony Todd, I just revisiting anything that he's in is heartbreaking. Unfortunately, it's like just to see how great he is. Candyman is one I've revisited a couple weeks ago after I did the Bloodlines video.
Oh yeah,
I ended up revisiting Candyman because that's a scary film for me. Even to this day, is still a scary film.
yeah. Candyman. It's one of those classics that when you watch it, you realize why it's a classic.
Yep.
And those are my favorite kind. Because, like, yeah, I've had a few of those recently. Like, I talked about RoboCop recently in one of my lists. That was something that I watched for the first time not too long ago. And yeah, that was like definitely one of those, as you're watching it within like the first 20 minutes, you're like, totally get why everybody loves this fucking movie. It makes total sense. This is why this is a classic. And I should have seen it a lot sooner than I did. But hey, there's always time when it comes to movies to make up for your past sins. And yeah, I was baptized in the blood of Alex Murphy.
Listen, we're always evolving when it comes to cinema, right?
I'm getting tired, you can tell. So there you go. But hey, guys, what a great week. This is a fun episode. I always love this. I always feel that way. Like, I hate to say this, but like, especially on Sundays where it's like I'm getting up super early and I've been up for a long time. I'm like, man, I'm so tired. I'm like, maybe it'll be a shorter episode this week. I don't know if I have the energy, but then it's like as soon as I get in here and the chat starts going and we start talking and everything and everybody just starts like chiming in with shit, it just perks me right up. So I really love and appreciate all of you for coming in here and showing the support, all the donations today. Erica, thank you so much for modding. Of course, you are seriously one of the best. I truly mean that. And yeah, if you're running a horror channel and if you're doing something where it's like you need her services, she is one of the best. So definitely consider adding her on. And yeah, obviously, just like earlier, I know some of you reached out, want to know tips, things like that. You can reach to us out at our email. I'll do my best to get back to you. I know Luke will do his best to get back to you. Sometimes things get a little hectic, especially because we have kind of fallen into a little bit of a trap with like a bunch of, bots and other things trying to send us offers. We keep getting one for, God, what is that one MMO game that they hit us up for like every day?
Oh my gosh, I can't even. Does it have the word desert in it?
It's Black Desert. That's
there
what
it
is. Yeah.
Every day.
Every fucking day. And it's just like I've just gotten into the point where I just check where it's coming from, and I will just literally email them back and just be like, you are lying to me. Why? It's just like I gotta have fun with it. I'm just like, otherwise it's just gonna go crazy. But yeah, it's certainly a lot of fun doing this every week, and I'm really glad that everybody seems to be taken with it, and it's always working. So
my gosh, I'll tell you, I'm putting together a little rundown for the Sunday Scaries is less daunting nowadays, because before it used to be like, okay, what are we going to put in here to fill our slots here? And it's just like, honestly, I'll tell you guys, it's like 3 stories now, and we let the chat just kind of take on a life of its own, which has certainly over the past few weeks, there's been an abundance of activity, which is always great to see, because I always have the chat up here and I'm always like looking through everything that's coming in, and it's like a lot of great conversations, a lot of great suggestions, things that just spawn conversation after conversation that we just get to talk about. So I mean, it's great to have a rundown to kind of guide us, but it's become so less daunting just because we have built such a great community. Erica taking on the task of moderating, and just a lot of great people showing up week in and week out and giving us a lot of great stuff. I mean, honestly, it's kind of sad to close down the Hell House series this week after our longstanding, week. But, one of the things we have an offer for, it's not a franchise or anything, but maybe we can do a the Jester review on here. And because we got the sequel coming up,
that's true. Yeah, it's only a couple weeks away.
So maybe we can fit that one in here, and then we'll find another franchise that we can tackle that we've been meaning to talk about, maybe. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I think it's definitely awesome because then everybody gets to have a week to watch it, and then when they do, we can just all hop in and chat, because that's the best part about this is we all just love talking about horror movies. So, why not cover some horror movies? I agree. I don't know. I'm running on empty. That's all I got. But yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of fun. Thank you again also to everybody else who's always popping up here. Stephanie is always showing some love to the channel. Jacob too. I know you just came back for I think the last couple of streams we've seen you. Kira's brand new. Paula, as always, Mr. Boone. I mean, I could go through every single name on this list, and I know there are several of you. Gracie always popping up. And again, I think the other beautiful thing is that our other sister podcast that's been kind of waning recently, we've been having some trouble, but everybody's kind of busy. It's Beyond the Splatter Graves is coming back this Tuesday. So we will have another episode for you guys, getting the boys back together, going to start talking about some stuff. Alex had a little bit of stuff going on behind the scenes. So we wanted to give him some time to kind of, deal with what he was dealing with. And now everything's kind of back to normal, getting things back up. So it's going to be an exciting week over there. We're going to have some fun. And yeah, we'll get that back on a regular schedule. But one thing you can always count on is that there will be another Sunday. And therefore, there will be another Monday. So the Scaries are always in play. I don't know. I had a really smooth thing I said last week. I felt really good about that, and I just completely botched that. Luke, what do you got?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No. Yeah, a lot of great stuff coming up this week. It'll be another interesting week on the channel. So, keep it right here. Patreon, we got some exclusive stuff dropping as well. So we're going to be some busy bees. And like Dylan said, hey, be right back here next Sunday with a lot more going on. We'll drop a probably community post, see what you guys are feeling toward the end of the week, and maybe give us some suggestions on topics. Give us some stuff to prep for, so we can have some fun conversations. Because hey, that's what we're here for.
I appreciate it, Erica. Thank you. Very well put, Adrian. Hopefully, on the next watch along, we can get you aboard as well, so you can throw some. You can throw some love that way, and we can get you involved a little more. I always feel bad when we're reviewing the movies at the end of the show, because if you haven't watched it, yeah, there's not much to do. But yeah, thank you for doing it. Oh, Debo, what's up, my boy? Thank you. Yes, Debo's been also in our comments a ton, so thank you, Debo. We appreciate you. You are the best. So, and thank you, Stephanie. Yes, I'm glad you guys enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. But yeah, that's going to be everything for us this week, guys. I'm going to go pass out and get some sleep. So, thank you. I love all of you. This is always looking forward to this, and we will catch you guys on the next Sunday Scaries, of course, next week. So that's all I got. That's the best for you. So love y'all. We'll see you later.
Take it easy, y'all.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splash your ass.